At my girlfriend's class reunion, her ex offered me $500,000 to disappear. They sneered, calling me a shameless freeloader living off a woman. They didn't know their city's most feared underground boss calls me brother. When a cabal of powerful families plotted for months to bankrupt my company, I let them. Then, with a single phone call, I turned their centuries of wealth into trillions of debt. When they framed my best friend and left him for dead in a prison cell, I didn't call a lawyer. I shattered the station's defenses, tore the steel door from its hinges with my bare hands, and delivered justice myself. And when an entire nation's arrogance insulted history, I didn't protest. I flew to their capital and answered with a divine fire that burned their most sacred shrine to the ground. My name is Ethan Yee, cultivator, trillionaire. The system gave me limitless power. My enemies give me a reason to use it. As Ethan stepped into the store, a salesperson greeted him with a smile. Welcome to the Huawei flagship store. How can I help you today? Ethan was direct. Give me 3 of your latest model phones, highest specs available. I'll meet you at the register. The salesperson, momentarily stunned by his decisiveness, quickly fetched the phones. Ethan paid, then went to a nearby shop to get 3 SIM cards, loading each with 100,000 yuan in credit. He then drove to the spot where he'd arranged to meet Winston. He found the boy waiting patiently on the steps. Seeing Ethan, Winston's face lit up as he ran to meet him, beads of sweat on his forehead. Ethan felt a pang of affection for the earnest boy. He wiped the sweat from Winston's brow and handed him one of the new phones. You've been waiting a while. This is for you. Winston stared at the phone, his eyes filled with longing, but he shook his head firmly. Master, this is too valuable. I can't accept it. Ethan put on a stern expression. What's this? Are you disobeying your master before your training has even begun? The boy looked alarmed. No, master. It's not that. It's just, this gift is too much. Ethan's expression softened. You are my disciple. It's natural for me to care for you. You'll be staying with me for a while, and a phone will make it easier to stay in touch with your grandmother. Just take it. Winston's eyes reddened. It was the first time he'd felt such warmth from anyone other than his grandmother. He dropped to his knees and kowtowed deeply. Master, I will never forget your kindness. A teacher for a day is a father for life. Ethan quickly pulled him up. No need for such formalities. Just keep that gratitude in your heart. Back at the villa, Ethan instructed Bianca to prepare a room for Winston, then led the boy to a bathroom. Take off your clothes and sit on the chair. Winston's eyes went wide with shock. Master, shouldn't you ask your wife to do this? I'm still young. Ethan tapped him lightly on the head. What nonsense are you thinking? I'm going to help you cleanse your meridians and temper your body. Now do as I say. Once Winston was ready, Ethan placed a marrow-cleansing pill in the boy's mouth. He then channeled his own spiritual energy into Winston, guiding it through the boy's body. Memorize this path, Ethan instructed, as he simultaneously transferred the complete knowledge of the primordial chaos scripture into Winston's mind. Once Winston could circulate the energy on his own, Ethan spoke to the system. System, when I took this pill, it was excruciating. Why doesn't he feel any pain? The system's reply was dripping with disdain. Host, how can you compare your mediocre aptitude with someone of superior talent? Ethan felt a pang of indignation, but knew it was true. Can my aptitude be improved? He asked. Of course, the system replied smugly. With enough points, anything is possible. Ethan silently vowed to earn more points. Hey, now that Winston is my disciple, do I get points when he spends money? He asked hopefully. Considering your lazy tendencies, the system has activated the Friends and Family module, the system announced. You will receive a 50% cash back on purchases made by friends, 90% for a spouse, and 70% for a disciple. Ethan practically jumped for joy. System, I love you. Just then, Winston finished absorbing the pill's power and began to awaken. Ethan scanned him with his spiritual sense and was surprised. He's only at the initial stage of chi refining? I went straight to the peak stage. Host, stop comparing yourself to a genius, the system chided. Winston's meridians are far stronger, and his spiritual energy is much purer than yours ever was. Ethan sighed. The system was right. He had its help, but Winston was a true natural. How do you feel? Ethan asked. Winston opened his eyes, his voice filled with excitement. Master, I feel incredible. Is this the legendary cultivation you taught me? Ethan smiled. Hold your excitement. First, wash off the impurities that have been expelled from your body. I'll be waiting downstairs. Winston sniffed the foul-smelling black residue covering his skin and nearly gagged, quickly turning on the shower. A little while later, a clean Winston came downstairs. Ethan gestured for him to sit. You have now reached the initial stage of chi refining. These pills will help you cultivate faster, but remember not to be impatient. He handed Winston 3 bottles of spirit-gathering pills and 1 bottle of breakthrough pills. Winston accepted them gratefully. Now, I have a task for you, Ethan said, transferring $1,000,000 yuan to the boy's new account. Before dinner tonight, I want you to spend this entire $1,000,000. You can buy anything you want, but every last bit must be gone. Winston stared at the string of zeros on his phone screen, completely stunned. He had never seen so much money in his life. He walked out of the villa in a daze, his mind reeling. Ethan watched him go, a smug smile on his face. Being my disciple isn't easy, he muttered to himself. If you can't even spend money, how are you supposed to make your way in the world? Meanwhile, back in Tianjin, Owen Yi, carrying a happy Nini, arrived with Autumn Lin at an orphanage. Several large trucks followed them. The director, Dina Ding, rushed out to meet them, her face etched with worry. When she saw Autumn, her expression broke into a joyful smile. Autumn, you're back. Mama Dina, I came to see you, Autumn said, hugging the older woman. She then introduced Owen and explained that they had brought some clothes and daily necessities. The director's eyes filled with tears of gratitude. While workers unloaded the supplies, one of the older boys spoke to Owen. Thank you so much, sir. Mama Dina has been so worried. Is the orphanage in some kind of trouble? Owen asked. The boy nodded grimly. If you hadn't brought these supplies, I don't know what she would have done. On top of that, they're going to demolish this place. We have to be out in 3 months. Owen's heart sank as he walked over to Autumn and the director. He asked about the demolition. Director Dina sighed. This is a private orphanage. We don't get government funding. The Far Reach Group is building a logistics center here. They're offering compensation, but it's not nearly enough to build a new facility. Owen felt a knot of guilt in his stomach. The project was a joint venture between Zhak Zhang, Qin Xian, and Ethan. He looked at Autumn and the director apologetically. There is a need to demolish the building, but please, don't worry. I will find a solution for the relocation. He immediately pulled out his phone and called Ethan. Owen, what's up? Did the Chu family make a move against you? Ethan asked as he answered the phone. Owen sounded embarrassed. No, it's not that. It's a personal matter. This piqued Ethan's interest. Owen was a proud man who rarely asked for help. Don't tell me you're already broke after getting married? Ethan teased. Just give yourself a raise. You're the boss of Universal in Tianjin, after all. Owen laughed, then explained the situation with the orphanage. Ethan thought for a moment. The demolition has to proceed. It's a major project. But I have an idea. Quinn and Zach have a lot of properties near the East Lake Resort. Go talk to them about buying one of their sales offices to be the new orphanage. The company will cover the cost, and we'll take the orphanage under the company's wing. We'll fund its operations, and Director Dina can stay on as the director. Owen was relieved. Ethan, my wife and I can't thank you enough. Don't mention it, Ethan replied. Consider it a wedding gift. By the way, make sure Autumn takes that youth-retaining pill. I've got to go. After hanging up, Owen shared the good news with an overjoyed Autumn and Director Dina. Meanwhile, Winston was on a shopping spree in a large mall, but it was proving more difficult than he'd imagined. After buying a few sets of clothes, he still had over 990,000 yuan left. Defeated, he hailed a cab and went home. He dropped the clothes on his bed, then ran out again, returning a few minutes later struggling under the weight of a large sack of rice, a sack of flour, a barrel of cooking oil, and a giant snack box. Grandma, look what I bought you, he shouted, running into the house. His grandmother smiled lovingly, wiping the sweat from his brow. You shouldn't spend your money on me, child. You should save it for yourself. It wasn't your money, Grandma. Winston explained excitedly. It was from my master, and I bought you new clothes and shoes. They're on the bed. His grandmother's expression immediately turned stern. Your master is teaching you skills. You shouldn't be taking money from him. Where did you buy these things? We're taking them back right now. Grandma, you've misunderstood, Winston said, on the verge of tears. He didn't just give it to me. It was a test. He gave me 1,000,000 yuan and told me I had to spend it all before dinner. I've only managed to spend a little over 1,500. His grandmother walked to a rusty iron box in her room and carefully counted out 1,600 yuan. She pressed the money into Winston's hand. Take me to your master. I will return this money to him myself. When they arrived at the villa, Ethan was waiting. Winston, how did the mission go? He asked, then saw the boy's grandmother standing behind him. Grandma Wei, what a surprise. Please, come in. Have you had dinner? The old woman looked ashamed. Master, it is my fault for not teaching my grandson better. Please forgive him for taking your money. She tried to press the 1,600 yuan into Ethan's hand. Ethan quickly stopped her. Grandma, you've misunderstood. This was a test for him. He turned to Winston. Tell me, what did you buy? Master, Winston said in a low voice. I spent 1,560 yuan. I bought 3 sets of clothes and a pair of shoes for my grandma, plus rice, flour, and oil. And I got myself a snack box. Ethan was surprised, but more than that, he was deeply touched. His disciple was a good kid, with a grateful heart. Grandma Wei, you heard him, Ethan said gently. The boy is so filial. Please, take the money back. As they say, a teacher is like a father. It's nothing for me to spend a little money on him. If you insist on refusing, then I'm afraid I can't continue to teach him. He tucked the money back into her pocket and invited them both to stay for dinner. The old woman politely refused, saying she needed to get her own food stall ready for the evening, and left after entrusting Winston to Ethan's care. Winston, Ethan said as they sat down to eat. Although you failed the task, I won't punish you, because your heart was in the right place. After dinner, Ethan went to his room. He realized he had no idea how to properly train a disciple. His own abilities were a gift from the system. He decided the best course of action was to take Winston to the 100 Flowers sect for a more structured education. He called Flora Hua. "Your Holiness," he began. "Are you busy?" Flora sighed on the other end. "Supreme Elder, please, just speak plainly." Ethan chuckled, slightly embarrassed. "All right. I was thinking of bringing my disciple to the sect for a visit. Would you be free?" "I have some matters to attend to," she replied after a pause. "But I can have Serena accompany you." "That's fine," Ethan said. "I'm at Villa number 6 in Cloudtop. Have her come here tomorrow." The next morning, Serena Xia arrived bright and early. As they walked to the car, Ethan asked, "Is the sect close to Shanghai? Are you planning to drive?" "Supreme Elder," Serena answered respectfully. "The sect is located in a valley in Hunan province. I was planning to take the high-speed rail. It's about a 5-hour trip." Ethan was taken aback. "Is the sect short on funds? Why not fly? If you need money, just ask." Serena looked embarrassed. "It's not that. I couldn't get tickets. For speed, we have a teleportation array at the Azure Pavilion, but it requires high-grade spirit stones to activate. So you are short on resources," Ethan said with a look of disdain. "Just tell me next time." He redeemed 20,000 high-grade spirit stones from the system store, put them in a storage bag, and tossed it to Serena. On the way to the Azure Pavilion, Ethan texted Nina. "Honey, I have to go away on business for a little while. Don't worry, I'll be back soon." At the pavilion, Serena led them to the same courtyard where Peter had met Flora. She placed a spirit stone into a slot on a stone slab. "Supreme Elder, there may be a moment of dizziness," she warned, and the three of them stepped onto the array. A flash of light later, they were inside the 100 Flowers sect. The sect master, Dahlia Hua, was already waiting with 3 elders. When she saw the 3 figures appear, she immediately sensed their cultivation levels. The man at the Foundation Establishment peak must be Ethan Yi. "Welcome, Honorary Supreme Elder, to the 100 Flowers sect." Dahlia greeted them. Ethan smiled. "Sect Master, you're too kind. How is the sect faring these days?" As Dahlia led them toward the main hall, she explained, "We have fewer than 200 members. Our Supreme Elder is at the initial Golden Core realm. Myself and the other 3 elders are at the Foundation Establishment stage, and most disciples are still in Chi refining." Once they were seated in the hall, Ethan asked, "Are there no masters stronger than the Golden Core realm in our sect?" Dahlia sighed. "Since the spiritual energy of this continent began to wane, it has been nearly impossible to advance past the Golden Core realm. To continue cultivating, one must travel to the spirit world through the portal at Kunlun Peak. In this world, the initial Golden Core realm is the peak. Can those who go to the spirit world return?" Ethan asked. She shook her head sadly. "According to our records, no one has ever returned." After some consideration, Ethan made a proposal. "Sect Master, I'd like to leave my disciple here to train for a while. I'm not very experienced at teaching. Could one of the elders spare some time to guide him? Also, does the sect have any special cultivation grounds that could speed up his progress? Of course, I will provide ample resources as compensation." Before anyone else could speak, the great elder, Fleur, eagerly volunteered. "Supreme Elder, I would be honored to personally instruct your disciple." Ethan was delighted. "That would be wonderful. Naturally, I won't let you work for free." He produced 3 bottles of spirit-gathering pills, 1 bottle of breakthrough pills, and 50 supreme-grade spirit stones, handing them to the great elder. Seeing such a generous reward, the other 2 elders, Blossom and Petal, quickly offered their services as well. Ethan, seeing a perfect opportunity to rack up points, happily agreed and gave them the same generous payment. The sect master, Dahlia, watched with envy, wishing she could teach the boy herself, but feeling it was beneath her station to compete with her elders. Ethan noticed Dahlia's expression. "Sect Master, are there any vacant pavilions in the sect? I'd like to purchase one for my disciple to live in while he trains." Dahlia's eyes lit up. "As a matter of fact, the Flower Appreciation Pavilion is currently empty. If you like it, I would be happy to gift it to you." But Ethan was focused on earning points. "Absolutely not," he insisted. "I couldn't possibly accept it for free. These resources are nothing to me." He quickly took out 100 supreme-grade spirit stones and pressed them into Dahlia's hand. Dahlia led him to the pavilion, a beautiful 3-story building. "It has a spirit-gathering array inside and comes with 3 maids," she explained. "Is there anything else you require?" Ethan smiled. "It's perfect. However, the title Supreme Elder feels a bit old for me. From now on, how about you all just call me Pavilion Master Yi? And of course, I'd like to purchase this title for, say, 200,000 high-grade spirit stones. Please inform the rest of the sect." Dahlia and the elders stared at him, bewildered. Was this man insane, spending a fortune on a title? Then it dawned on them. He saw that their sect was struggling and was finding creative ways to donate resources. Deeply moved, they all bowed to him. Ethan was confused by their reaction. Had he not offered enough? Was that not enough spirit stones? He asked. "Should I add more?" No, Pavilion Master Yi. It's more than enough," they chorused. Slightly disappointed, Ethan handed over the spirit stones. Sect Master, is there a suitable place in the sect for a breakthrough? I want to attempt to reach the Golden Core realm. Dahlia led him to a large, ancient defensive formation deep within the sect grounds. This array will shield you from all external disturbances. We will leave you to your cultivation. Once they were gone, Ethan spoke to the system. How many points to upgrade my aptitude to superior? 1 billion points, the system replied. Ethan glanced at his balance. Over 2 billion, and spent the points without hesitation. He felt a profound shift within his body, then swallowed the breakthrough pill he had prepared. He sat cross-legged before the array and began to circulate the primordial chaos scripture. The spiritual energy in his body gathered into a powerful torrent, compressing itself again and again. When he felt his energy flagging, he consumed 3 more spirit-gathering pills, and a vast new wave of power surged through him. After what felt like an eternity of relentless compression, a dazzling, pigeon egg-sized golden core finally formed in his dantian. But before he could even celebrate, the sky above him suddenly turned black. The dark clouds thickened, swirling with a palpable, destructive energy that quickly enveloped the entire area. A wave of intense crisis washed over Ethan. He immediately circulated his spiritual energy, attempting to form a defense. But the power of the tribulation felt like an unstoppable flood. Suddenly, a colossal bolt of lightning, like the gaping maw of a monstrous beast, tore through the sky. With a deafening roar, the sect's defensive array shattered into countless pieces. The terrifying bolt of lightning continued its descent, striking Ethan squarely on the body. Even weakened by the array, the power was immense. A searing pain shot through him, as if every bone in his body was about to break. He looked up at the sky, cursing his own recklessness for attempting the breakthrough without proper preparation. There was no time for regret. 3 more bolts, even fiercer than the first, slammed down on him. He was thrown to the ground, his body grievously wounded. He had to heal, and fast, or he would never survive the next onslaught. System, he yelled in his mind. Do you have anything that can heal me quickly? A cold voice replied. Host, the Great Restoration Pill is highly effective for your current condition. It costs 200,000 points per bottle of 10. At this point, points were meaningless. Survival was everything. He immediately redeemed a bottle and swallowed a pill. A warm current spread through his body, his wounds began to close, and his strength slowly returned. Relying on the pills, Ethan barely survived 2 more terrifying lightning strikes. He knew he couldn't just keep taking pills to get through the final, most powerful 3 bolts. His only hope was the system itself. System, what can I do? He asked desperately. There are many options, host. The simplest is to spend all of your current points, and the system will personally disperse the tribulation for you. Alternatively, you can purchase defensive spiritual treasures or talismans. Ethan's eyes lit up. He remembered the intermediate grade attack and defense talismans the system had rewarded him with before. They could withstand an attack from a nascent soul realm expert. He instantly retrieved the 2 talismans from his system space and infused them with spiritual energy. He hurled the glowing attack talisman towards the heavens. A brilliant beam of energy, like a shooting star, shot upwards. It struck the roiling black clouds with unstoppable force, shattering the tribulation in an instant. The sky cleared as if nothing had ever happened. Ethan stared, dumbfounded. It's over. Host, there is good news and bad news. Which would you like to hear first? The bad news, Ethan said numbly. Because the tribulation was dispersed, you will not receive the customary blessing from the heavens. And the good news? You managed to save your own life. Ethan was speechless. That's it. Aren't you going to tell me I can spend points to get the blessing? Congratulations, host, you have answered correctly. For 100 million points, you can receive a standard heavenly blessing. For 500 million points, you can receive the highest grade blessing available for the Golden Core realm. He chose the highest grade without a second thought. The tribulation had taught him a valuable lesson. Life was more precious than any number of points. A gentle, warm light descended, enveloping him completely. A blissful sensation washed over him as his body underwent a complete transformation. His bones, muscles, meridians, and even his soul were strengthened and refined to an unprecedented degree. A full day passed before Ethan finally opened his eyes. He could feel the surging power within him. He was at the peak of the initial Golden Core realm. He felt invincible, confident that no one in this world could stand against him. After changing into a fresh set of clothes, he started walking back towards the 100 Flowers sect, then stopped, slapping his forehead. He could fly on a sword now. He redeemed a sword-flying manual and a medium-grade spirit sword from the system store. After a few moments of study, he leaped onto the sword and shot towards the sect like a streak of light, oblivious to the chaos that awaited him. The sect's supreme elder, Azure Mu, had just returned from the southern border, grievously poisoned. Ethan had planned to make a grand entrance, but the sight of the sect in utter chaos stopped him in his tracks. He hurried to the main hall. Sect Master, what's happened? He demanded. Dahlia's eyes widened in surprise when she saw him. Pavilion Master Yi, you've broken through? He nodded. We can talk about that later. What's going on? Dahlia quickly explained that the sect's supreme elder, Azure Mu, had gone to the southern border to investigate a newly discovered spirit vein. There, she had been ambushed by an old enemy, Old Man Venom, and was now lying in a coma, poisoned. If he follows her here, Dahlia finished, her voice trembling, I fear the 100 Flowers sect will be annihilated. Ethan understood. Azure Mu was a golden core expert, so Old Man Venom must be as well. He took a bottle of antidote pills from his system space and tossed it to Dahlia. Give this to your supreme elder. It should help. And don't worry, if that old villain shows up, I'll deal with him myself. After Dahlia rushed off, Ethan instructed the 3 elders to inform him the moment Old Man Venom appeared, then returned to his pavilion. He found Winston meditating, his cultivation already having advanced to the mid-stage of chi refining. Not wanting to disturb him, Ethan sat and drank some tea. Hours later, Winston finished his cultivation for the day. Master, you're back, he exclaimed, running over. I haven't been slacking. I'm at the mid-stage of chi refining now. Ethan smiled. Good work, but don't get complacent. Just then, a disciple ran in, breathless. Pavilion Master Yi, Old Man Venom. He's here. Ethan's eyes turned cold. So he came after all. He and Winston went to the main square, where the disciples were assembled in a defensive formation. Standing before them was an old man in black robes, radiating a powerful aura. Pavilion Master Yi, the great elder said urgently. Please, subdue this villain. Get the disciples away from here. Ethan commanded. I'll handle this. He summoned his sword and flew towards Old Man Venom, who dodged the initial attack with an eerie, fluid movement. The old man unleashed a cloud of Woa green, corrosive gas that hissed as it met Ethan's sword. The two were locked in a stalemate until Ethan decided to use his ultimate technique, the primordial chaos sword art. A dazzling light erupted from his body as his sword transformed into a streaking meteor, shooting towards his opponent. Old Man Venom, underestimating the attack's power, was sent flying, a trickle of blood leaking from the corner of his mouth. I didn't expect you to have such skill, the old man sneered, wiping the blood away. But the 100 Flowers sect is doomed today. He unleashed an even thicker cloud of poison gas. Ethan held his breath and activated a protective barrier. He knew he had to end this quickly. Focusing all his power, he pointed his sword to the sky. Primordial chaos sword art, annihilate. The sword transformed into a massive beam of light, radiating an aura of absolute destruction. The beam tore through the poison barrier as if it were paper and pierced straight through Old Man Venom's chest. The old man stared in disbelief, his mouth opening but no sound coming out, before he collapsed to the ground, dead. The crisis was over. Don't come closer, Ethan warned the disciples. There's still some residual poison here. After instructing the great elder to handle the cleanup, he returned to his pavilion with Winston trailing behind him. Master, the boy said, his eyes shining. That move was incredible. When can I learn it? Ethan laughed. You're an eager one. When you reach the Foundation Establishment realm, I'll teach you the primordial chaos sword art. Back in the pavilion, Ethan asked, Winston, how long have we been here? The boy thought for a moment. I think today is the 28th day, Master. Ethan was stunned. It felt like only a few days had passed. He had to get back. He pulled out his phone and was immediately flooded with hundreds of messages, most of them from Nina. After sending quick replies to his family and friends, he immediately called her. Ethan, where have you been? Nina's voice was thick with tears. Your phone was off for weeks. I was so worried something happened to you. Nina, I'm so sorry, he said, his heart aching. I was in a special place. I'm coming back tomorrow. I'll explain everything then. They spoke for a little while longer, and after hanging up, Ethan resolved to leave the next morning. Early the next day, as Ethan and Winston were preparing to leave, they saw Dahlia approaching, supporting a middle-aged woman of elegant bearing. Pavilion Master Yi, Dahlia said, this is my master, the supreme elder of our sect, Azure Mu. Azure Mu smiled gratefully at Ethan. Pavilion Master Yi, thank you for saving my life and our sect. If you ever need anything, I will do everything in my power to help you. You're too kind, Ethan said. It was my duty. How are your injuries? The poison is mostly gone, thanks to your pill, she replied. But the wounds will take about half a year to fully heal. Without hesitation, Ethan took out the last 2 great restoration pills and offered them to her. These will help you recover faster. Please, take them. He then turned to Dahlia. Sect Master, I have urgent matters to attend to. Could you open the teleportation array for me? After a brief attempt to persuade him to stay, Dahlia and Azure Mu complied, sending Ethan and Winston back to Shanghai. The moment they arrived in the courtyard of the Azure Pavilion, Ethan summoned his sword, grabbed Winston, and shot off towards Cloudtop Villas. 5 minutes later, they landed. Winston, pale and dizzy, stumbled off the sword and promptly threw up on the pristine lawn. Master, he groaned. Next time, can we please take a cab? You fly way too fast. Ethan felt a twinge of embarrassment. A cultivator must be able to endure such trivial things, Winston. You still have much to learn. Now, go see your grandmother. After Winston left, Ethan texted Nina to tell her he was back and would meet her for lunch. Then he drove to the Chungji Tower. He found Luna Shin buried in paperwork in the CEO's office. Well, if it isn't the great boss himself, she said, her tone dripping with sarcasm. You disappear for a whole month without a word. Aren't you worried we'd get bought out? I have you. What's there to worry about? He said breezily. Now update me. Luna explained that the Chu Alliance had been relentless, and as instructed, she had allowed them to acquire nearly a third of their subsidiary companies. In the meantime, she had secretly acquired a 7% stake in both the Chu and Han families' core businesses. Good, Ethan said. Now, start spreading some negative rumors about us. Lure them into an all-out acquisition attempt. I'll have Hudson Yi start devouring their parent companies in Hong Kong. By the way, where's Wayne? Luna rolled her eyes. You sent Hudson to Hong Kong and told him to train Wayne. Where do you think he is? Right, I forgot, Ethan said, slapping his head. Well, keep up the good work. Also, set up a charity foundation for me. Start with $10 billion in initial funding. I've got to run. The moment Ethan stepped out of the building, his phone rang. It was Peter Zhao. Ethan, my man. Where have you been? I've been in Shanghai for a month, just clubbing and chasing girls. I feel like I'm wasting my youth. Ethan laughed. Isn't that the life you've always dreamed of? Well, yeah, Peter admitted. But hey, are you free? Let's hang out. Can't today, Ethan said. I have a lunch date with Nina. Maybe something in the evening. I'll call you. Say no more, Peter said knowingly. You go be with your lady. Just hit me up when you're free. Ethan hung up and drove to the Phoenix Pavilion. Julian Zhou was waiting for him. Mr. Yi, you're here. The private room is ready. Ethan ordered a few of Nina's favorite dishes and texted her the room number. A few minutes later, she burst in and threw herself into his arms. Ethan, where did you go? I missed you so much. I was so scared you were going to leave me. He stroked her hair gently. Silly girl, I would never leave you. It was just a special trip. I promise I won't disappear like that again. Now sit down, I'm starving. Nina's tears turned to laughter as they sat down to eat. After their meal, Ethan reminded her that the new semester was starting soon. I've already asked Luna to handle the charity foundation, so it should be up and running soon. Nina nodded. I'll finish up my credits as soon as I can. Oh, I have a class reunion tonight. Can you come with me? Everyone's bringing their partner. She looked at him with hopeful eyes. Ethan leaned in close. If you want me to go, you have to give me a sweet kiss first. She immediately stood on her toes and planted a quick kiss on his cheek. There. Now you can't back out. They decided to head back to his place at Thompson 1 to rest before the party. As soon as they walked in, Nina kicked off her shoes and ran inside. I haven't been here in so long. I remember making you breakfast here. Oh right. You were going to tell me where you went. Ethan smiled mysteriously and, with a flick of his wrist, sent a water glass on the table flying into his hand. Nina's jaw dropped. She rubbed her eyes in disbelief. Is that a magic trick? Not magic, he said with a grin. Nina, I'm a cultivator. A cultivator? Like in the novels. He nodded. They're real. I was visiting the 100 Flowers sect in Hunan. Can you fly? Can you teach me? She asked, her eyes wide with excitement. I can, he said. But it's not easy. It requires talent and a lot of hard work. I don't care how hard it is, she declared. I want to learn. I want to be a cultivator too. Seeing the determination in her eyes, Ethan secretly asked the system to check her aptitude. The results appeared in his mind. Name, Nina Lee. Aptitude, low grade. Comprehension, low grade. Luck, high grade. He turned back to her. Nina, he said gently, I've checked your aptitude. You barely meet the minimum requirement to cultivate. If you choose this path, you'll have to work much harder than anyone else. But the good news is, you have very good luck, which might make up for some of your other shortcomings. Nina looked at Ethan, her gaze unwavering. I'm not afraid of hard work, Ethan. I'll do whatever it takes. I want to be able to spend more time with you. When can we start? He pinched her cheek affectionately. So eager? We'll start after your reunion tonight. You promise you won't back out? She said playfully. Or I'll ignore you forever. He pulled her into a tight embrace, a mischievous glint in his eye. Is that a threat? Looks like I'll have to discipline you properly later. He then swept her up and carried her towards the bedroom. After a passionate encounter, Nina lay curled up on his chest. I'm so happy when I'm with you, Ethan. As long as I have you, I'm the happiest person in the world. He held her close and whispered in her ear. Don't worry, I'll always be by your side. Now go get washed up. Your reunion is starting soon. Carry me, she pouted. A princess carry. In the bathroom, he gently helped her wash her hair, her eyes closed in blissful enjoyment. After they were both dressed, they drove to the venue, a lavish place called the Star Garden. Wow, Ethan commented as they walked in. Your classmates must be doing well for themselves to book a place like this. Nina tugged on his sleeve. You're the big boss here, Ethan. You're way more impressive than any of them. She pulled him towards the private room. As they entered, a girl with short, stylish hair rushed to greet them. Nina, you're finally here. And this handsome gentleman must be your boyfriend. He's gorgeous. She turned to Ethan. Hi, I'm Sasha, Nina's best friend. Do you mind having another girlfriend? Nina rolled her eyes. Sasha, this is my boyfriend, Ethan. Don't you dare get any ideas. Sasha feigned a look of heartbreak. But Nina, we always used to share everything in high school. Are you telling me you won't share your handsome boyfriend? Before Nina could retort, Sasha grabbed her arm and pulled her into the crowd. Left to his own devices, Ethan found a seat on a nearby sofa. He scanned the room and noticed two pairs of eyes fixed on Nina. One belonged to Tiffany Moo, the girl he'd met before, who was glaring at Nina with pure hatred. The other belonged to a sleazy-looking man dressed head to toe in designer brands. Ethan smirked. They'd better not try anything stupid. Soon, the class president, Ruby Chai, called for everyone to take their seats. As the exquisite dishes began to arrive, the sleazy man, whose name was Richie Wong, stood up and announced loudly. It's been too long, everyone. I'm so happy to see you all. So tonight is on me. Waiter, bring us the best wine. He shot a provocative glance at Ethan. The people around Richie immediately started showering him with praise. Richie, you're so generous. The heir to Tianyu Construction is truly on another level. Sasha, sitting next to Nina, leaned over to Ethan and whispered with a smile. That's Richie Wong. He was obsessed with Nina back in the day. Looks like he's still not over her. You'd better watch out. Of course, I'm a pretty good option too, you know. Just something to consider. Tianyu Construction? Ethan racked his brain, but came up empty. Clearly, they weren't a major player. He turned to Sasha with an amused smile. Thanks for the heads up, but a character like that is hardly a threat. Nina wrinkled her nose in disgust. He's so annoying. He used to chase after me all the time, but he's a total pig. Thinks he can do whatever he wants just because his family has a little money. I can't stand guys like him. Sasha nodded in agreement. He's going to end up in a ditch someday because of some woman. You know, Ethan, you should really consider me. Imagine how exciting it would be if Nina and I could serve you together. Ethan glanced awkwardly at Nina, thinking her friend was certainly bold. The idea, however, was admittedly intriguing. Nina shot him a glare. Don't you go getting any ideas from her. If you took her seriously, she wouldn't know what to do. Sure I would. Sasha shot back. You can be the main wife, and I'll be the second. Right, big sister? Meanwhile, Richie Wong was basking in the flattery of his classmates. Noticing that Nina was completely ignoring him, he strode over to their table, glass in hand. Nina, long time no see. You're as beautiful as ever. Who's this guy? Nina shot him a cold look. Don't call me Nina, Richie. I don't know you that well. This is my husband. Are you satisfied? Now please leave us alone. Richie looked Ethan up and down. A little taller and better looking than him. Maybe, but there was no way he was richer. Hey buddy, he said condescendingly. Where do you work? If you're unemployed, I could probably find something for you. Ethan decided to play along. I just graduated, haven't found a job yet, he said, putting on a pitiful expression. I'm living off what Nina gives me. But hey, I've got the looks, right, Nina? Nina immediately caught on. That's right. Don't worry, honey. I'll work hard and provide for you. Sasha jumped in enthusiastically. Don't worry, handsome. If Nina can't support you, I'll help. It would be a pleasure to see your handsome face every day. Richie's face darkened. He jabbed a finger at Ethan. Have you no shame? Letting a woman support you. You're a disgrace to all men. He pulled a card from his pocket and threw it at Ethan. Here's 500,000. Take it and get out of Nina's life, or you'll regret it. Ethan picked up the card and dangled it in front of Nina's face. See, honey? I'm only worth $500,000. It's insulting, really. He casually tossed the card back at Richie's feet. You little punk, Richie snarled, his face turning an ugly shade of red. You'd better take that money and disappear. This place is owned by my boss, Max Wu. He's one of Tyson Chen's men. I could have your legs broken and no one would do a thing. Ethan was mildly surprised. So this place had a connection to Lang Chen? Interesting. Scared now, aren't you? Richie sneered. Get lost before I change my mind. Nina is way out of your league. The other students, hearing the connection to the Chen family, immediately started fawning over Richie even more. Ethan was getting annoyed with Richie's disgusting face and was about to teach him a lesson when the door to the room swung open. A tall, handsome man walked in. Tiffany Moo immediately ran to his side, linking her arm with his. Peter, you're finally here, she cooed. My arch-nemesis is here with her boy toy. You have to put them in their place for me. She pointed towards Ethan. Peter Zhao followed her finger and froze. He quickly untangled himself from Tiffany's embrace and hurried over. Ethan, my man. Fancy seeing you here. So this is why you were busy tonight, hanging with your wife at her reunion. Richie, assuming Peter was another pretty boy mooching off a woman, sneered. Where did this little mutt come from? You think you can mess with me? I'll teach you both a lesson you won't forget. Peter looked from Richie to Ethan, confused. Is this guy your friend? Do I look like I'd be friends with an idiot like this? Ethan replied. He just offered me 500,000 to leave your sister-in-law. What? 500 grand? Peter said, feigning shock. Richie puffed out his chest. Yeah, that's right. Now you know who you're dealing with. Take the money and scram. Peter burst out laughing. You think $500,000 is enough to make my brother leave his wife? You couldn't do it with 50 billion. You little punk. Richie snarled, his face contorting with rage. Without warning, Peter slapped him hard across the face. You've got a lot of nerve, you little cockroach. No one points a finger in my face and gets away with it. Richie, holding his stinging cheek, stared in disbelief. No one had ever dared to hit him before. Fine. You're tough, he seethed. My boss, Max Wu, works for Lang Chin. You just wait. I'm going to call him, and you'll be begging for mercy. Oh, I'm so scared, Peter mocked. You'd better hurry up and call him before I run away. Richie stormed out of the room to find his boss. Sasha turned to Peter, worried. Maybe we should get out of here before he comes back with backup. Max Wu? Who the hell is that? Peter said dismissively. Even if he brings Lang Chin himself, I'm not afraid. And who might you be, my beautiful lady? I'm Nina's best friend, Sasha replied. And your second sister-in-law, Sasha Zheng. Peter's eyes widened with a strange look. Ethan, you dog. You even bagged your wife's best friend. Ethan slapped him on the back of the head. Get your mind out of the gutter. And how do you know Tiffany Mu? I met her at a club a while back, Peter said, rubbing his head. She's very talented. Hey, what did she mean about you guys having a problem? Ethan explained their brief history. She's not a good person, Peter. Be careful. Just then, the door was kicked open. Richie swaggered in, followed by a man in his 30s and a dozen burly security guards. That's him, boss. Richie yelled, pointing at Peter. And the guy next to him is with him. The class president, Ruby Chai, tried to intervene. Richie, we're all classmates here. Shut up. This is none of your business. Richie snapped. Max Wu stepped forward, his eyes cold. You're the one who hit my man? What if I am? Peter shot back. You've got a death wish, kid. No one talks to me like that around here. You're just Lang Chin's dog. What's there to be afraid of? Peter scoffed. Max's face twisted in fury. You dare insult Mr. Chin? Boys, get him. Break his legs. The guards rushed towards Peter, who met them with a flying kick. Seeing Peter charge in recklessly, Ethan sighed. His friend wasn't a martial artist. He'd be overwhelmed. In a flash, Ethan moved. He was a blur, a whirlwind of motion. In less than a minute, all 10 of the highly paid security guards, including a provincial martial arts champion, were groaning on the floor. Richie and Max Wu stared in stunned silence. Peter swaggered over and slapped each of them across the face. Still feeling tough now, are we? He taunted. Max, his face burning, finally snapped out of his shock. As the heir to a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, he couldn't let this humiliation stand. I'll admit, you got the drop on me today, he snarled. But you disrespected Mr. Chin. Just wait for the Chin family to deal with you. Peter spat on the floor. Go on then, call your master Lang Chin. I'd love to see who he's going to punish when he gets here. You, or me. Max stormed out of the room, Richie scrambling after him. Outside, Max grabbed Richie by the collar. Who the hell are those guys? He demanded. They said they were just a couple of freeloaders living off women. Richie stammered. Max punched him in the face. Do they look like freeloaders to you, you idiot? He then pulled out his phone and dialed Lang Chin. He explained the situation, embellishing the details to make himself look like the victim. Lang Chin was silent for a moment. Someone in Shanghai dared to disrespect him? Unthinkable. I'm on my way, he said. Keep an eye on them. A short while later, Lang Chin arrived with his entourage. Max and Richie rushed to greet him, falling over themselves to be obsequious. Mr. Chin, the two punks are in here. Richie babbled. They were so arrogant. They even called you Lang the Second. Max kicked Richie aside. Shut up, you idiot. He then turned to Lang Chin with a fawning smile. This way, Mr. Chin. Lang Chin strode into the room, his cold gaze sweeping over everyone. When his eyes landed on Ethan and Peter, he froze for a second, then walked quickly towards them. Before he could speak, Max pointed at them. Mr. Chin, it's these two little bastards. They beat me up and showed you no respect. Ethan and Peter exchanged an amused look. This was going to be good. Without a word, Lang Chin spun around and slapped Max so hard he fell to the floor. Max lay there, completely bewildered. Why had his boss hit him? Peter stepped forward. Cousin, he said with a grin. Your taste in associates is really something. You're going to stick up for this piece of trash. Peter? Ethan, Lang Chin said, a smile breaking across his face. What a coincidence. I thought it was that fool Charles Chu causing trouble again. What happened? Peter recounted the evening's events. On the floor, Max's face turned ashen. He had messed up, badly. He glared at Richie, who was now trembling beside him, his eyes full of venomous hatred. Lang Chin's gaze turned icy as he looked at Max. He turned to his bodyguards. Drag these two embarrassments outside and break one of their legs. Max scrambled to his feet and grabbed Lang Chin's leg. Mr. Chin, I was wrong. Please, give me another chance. Richie crawled over to Ethan, slapping himself repeatedly in the face. Mr. Yi, please, for Nina's sake, we were classmates. Please let me go this one time. I swear I'll never appear before you again. Lang Chin looked at Ethan, waiting for his decision. Ethan glanced at Nina, and saw a flicker of pity in her eyes. He sighed. Lang, he said, let's not break their legs. Just have them kneel and slap themselves 100 times as a lesson. Lang Xin nodded, then barked at the two men. You heard him. Get to it. The two men, looking as if they'd received a royal pardon, immediately dropped to their knees and began slapping themselves with all their might, the sound echoing through the suddenly quiet room. Lang Xin smiled at Ethan. Since you're here for a reunion with your lovely lady, I won't disturb you any longer. Come visit when you have time. Tonight's dinner is on me. After he left, Peter shouted to the room. All right, everyone. You heard the man. Lang Xin is paying, so eat up. Instantly, the atmosphere shifted. Ethan and his friends became the center of attention, with classmates flocking over to offer fawning praise. Sasha whispered to Nina, what's your husband's background? Even Lang Xin has to give him face. He's the owner of Universal Group, Nina said quietly. Sasha's jaw dropped. The news quickly spread through the room, and the flattery intensified. The students who had previously ignored Nina were now her best friends. Seeing Nina's discomfort, Ethan leaned over. If you're not feeling well, we can go home. She nodded gratefully. After saying goodbye to Peter and Sasha, Ethan and Nina left for Cloudtop Villas. Back at home, Nina's mood was still low. She knew the sudden warmth from her classmates was only because of Ethan's status. Ethan handed her a glass of water. Don't let them get to you, he said gently. They value my identity, not the real you. What I care about is you. Nina looked up at him, her eyes filled with gratitude. He pulled her into a hug. Don't worry about what other people think. Just focus on our life. From now on, you can spend time with your real friends and stay away from the fake ones. She leaned against his chest and nodded. You know, he said, stroking her back. You wanted me to teach you how to cultivate. Why don't we start now? Her mood lifted instantly. You can't get mad if I'm a slow learner, she said, her worries forgotten. In the bedroom, Ethan instructed her to take off her clothes. Hey, she said, blushing. I thought we were going to cultivate, not get right back to it. He just smiled and placed a marrow-cleansing pill in her mouth. This might hurt a little, he warned. A moment later, she cried out in pain as black, sticky impurities began to seep from her pores. Half an hour later, he carried her to the bathroom and washed her clean. The smell was indescribable. Afterward, he wrapped her in a towel and carried her to bed. She was exhausted but felt lighter than ever. She quickly fell into a deep, peaceful sleep. Ethan left Nina sleeping and went to relax on the sofa in the living room. Bianca approached him respectfully. Mr. Yi, an invitation for you has arrived from America. She handed him the envelope. Why are you still here so late, Bianca? Ethan asked casually. I had some things to take care of, she replied with a gentle smile. He nodded and opened the envelope. It was an invitation from Universal Bank for all of its Zenith Black Card holders to attend a members' conference in New York City in 1 week. Do you know anything about this conference? He asked. It's their annual event to strengthen relationships with their top clients, she explained. But I don't know the specific agenda. Ethan tucked the invitation away. If he had time, he might just check it out. He sensed that Nina was awake and went back to the bedroom. Are you hungry? I can have Bianca prepare something for you. Nina stretched languidly. I'm not hungry, Ethan. Teach me how to cultivate. I've been waiting forever. He smiled and had her sit cross-legged on the bed. He transferred the knowledge of the primordial chaos scripture into her mind, then placed his hands on her back, guiding a stream of spiritual energy along the proper pathways. Memorize this route, Nina. Absorb the spiritual energy. He put a spirit-gathering pill in her mouth. She focused intently, and half an hour later, she opened her eyes, glowing with excitement. Ethan, I can feel the energy. I think I've reached the initial stage of chi refining. He looked at her, radiant and beautiful, and couldn't resist pulling her into his arms. The next morning, just as dawn was breaking, Ethan's phone rang. It was Hudson Yi. Hudson, what's happening in Hong Kong? Ethan asked, still half asleep. Master, everything is proceeding as planned, Hudson reported. I have successfully acquired a 55% stake in their companies, giving us full control. Shall I cut off their funding now? Now that we have control, it's time for the next phase, Ethan said, fully awake now. Merge those companies into a new entity and launch an all-out attack on the Chu and Han families. In another part of the city, Felix Liu was pacing frantically. His secretary had just informed him that a mysterious entity had seized control of his company and was demanding the immediate return of the 100 billion he had funneled into the attack on Universal Group. Charles Chu watched him, unfazed. Mr. Liu, we already have nearly 45% of Universal. Their stock is at rock bottom. Even if you sell off your shares, you won't cover the 100 billion. I suggest you simply transfer ownership of your company to this new major shareholder to settle the debt. This will allow us to accelerate our acquisition. You won't lose any personal wealth. In fact, you stand to gain a great deal. After a moment of agonizing indecision, Felix Liu made his choice. He called his secretary and told her to relay his decision. Half an hour later, she called back. Mr. Liu, the new shareholder has agreed to your proposal. They asked that you return to Hong Kong as soon as possible to handle the paperwork. A wave of relief washed over Felix. Book the tickets, he said, turning to Charles. I'm betting my entire company on this, Charles. We have to take down Universal Group. Charles smiled. A flicker of contempt in his eyes they were both too desperate to notice. The game was just beginning. Ethan, after hearing the news from Hong Kong, immediately called Luna Shun. Hudson has taken control in Hong Kong, he said, getting straight to the point. It's time for our counterattack. Start dumping all of our Universal Group shares. Once the Chu Alliance buys them all up, detonate everything. Trigger all the traps we've laid. Don't give them a single chance to pull their money out. And notify the Fong and Qin families. It's time for them to start devouring the Chu and Han families. After hanging up, Ethan sent a quick text to Peter Zhao. Call me when you wake up. He then carefully slipped out of bed, trying not to wake Nina. He got ready and quietly left the villa, heading for his Bugatti. He contacted Winston for his address, and then sped off towards the city center. He arrived in a dilapidated shantytown, a relic of a bygone era. The buildings were crumbling, the windows taped over, and the roads were cracked and overgrown with weeds. After parking, he walked to Winston's home. The boy was waiting anxiously by the door. Master, you came. I'm sorry it's so shabby, Winston said, ushering him inside. The small house was simple but immaculately clean. A neatly made bed, a small table with a lamp and some books, and a single portrait of a great leader on the wall. Where's your grandmother? Ethan asked. Winston's eyes reddened. To pay for my schooling, she works 2 jobs, he said, his voice thick with emotion. She's a sanitation worker during the day and runs a food stall at night. Master, I wish I could grow up faster so I can help her. Ethan felt a pang of sympathy for the boy. He placed a hand on Winston's shoulder. You are her hope, Winston. You must work hard on both your cultivation and your studies. I'm giving you a new task. From now on, you will be responsible for taking care of your grandmother. He then transferred 100 million yuan to Winston's account. Winston stared at his phone, speechless. He rubbed his eyes, convinced he was seeing things. Master, this is too much. I've never seen so much money. Ethan laughed. Well, now you have. You're my disciple. You'll never be short on money. If you ever run into a problem, just throw money at it. If that doesn't work, then I'll solve it for you. Just as Winston was about to drop to his knees in gratitude, Ethan stopped him. I've told you, a man's knees are precious. Don't kneel so easily. I've been meaning to ask, Winston, have you always lived alone with your grandmother? You've never mentioned your parents. The boy's head drooped. Master, my grandmother found me. I've never known my real parents. Just then, the door opened and Grandma Wei walked in, stooped and weary from a day's work. When she saw Ethan, her face broke into a wide smile. Master, you're here? Winston, what are you doing just standing there? Get your master some tea. Ethan gently helped the old woman to a chair. Grandma Wei, you shouldn't be working so hard. I'm used to it, she said with a wave of her hand. Besides, Winston is getting older, he needs more money. I have to save up while I still can. I worry about what will happen to him when I'm gone. Now that he has you, I can rest a little easier. Winston's eyes filled with tears. Grandma, you're going to live for a long, long time. You have to see me get married and have children. She gently stroked his cheek. Of course, my dear boy. Grandma wants to see you grow up and be happy. I can even help you look after your children. Ethan did a quick scan of Grandma Wei with his spiritual sense. She was generally healthy, but suffered from malnutrition and severe arthritis. He redeemed a bottle of health pills from the system store and handed them to Winston. Give these to your grandmother. They will help her body. And buy her some nutritious food to build up her strength. Don't worry about the cost. I have other business to attend to, so I'll be going. As soon as he got in his car, his phone rang. It was Peter Zhao. Ethan, you're finally free. I've found some amazing new spots we have to check out. Peter, listen, Ethan said, his tone serious. I'm planning to make a move against the Chu and Han families in the next few days. Is your family interested in joining in? Peter's voice immediately sobered. I'll talk to my dad and brother right away. I'm sure they won't want to miss this. Good. If you're in, have them contact Luna Shun directly. I've got to go. Talk to you later. He hung up and drove back to the villa. Nina was still asleep, so he went to the study to catch up on his messages. He saw a new one in his college friends group chat. It was from Chris Cheng's mother. Hello, everyone. This is Chris's mother. He's in trouble, serious trouble. I hope you can help. Ethan's heart sank. Chris was the strong, silent type who never asked for help. For his mother to be sending this message, it had to be bad. Auntie, don't worry, he typed back. Send me your location. I'm on my way. A moment later, an address in Shandong province appeared in the chat, followed by a stream of thank you messages. Ethan didn't hesitate. He left the villa and summoned his sword, shooting off towards Shandong like a bolt of lightning. In Tianjin, Elaine came home from her driving lesson to find her uncle, Victor Wong, sitting in the living room with a troubled expression. She'd just passed her driving test and was eager to share the news, but he barely seemed to register her presence. Uncle, what's wrong? She asked. Did you run into some trouble? He sighed heavily. It's your aunt, Fiona Lee. Ever since your mother put me in charge of the family medical fund, she's been driving me crazy. Elaine pulled up a chair, her interest piqued. What did she do? She's been submitting fake receipts for reimbursement, Victor explained. At first, she was just buying medicine and reselling it. But then I found out she was having fake receipts made for procedures that never even happened. When I confronted her, she denied it, and now she comes to my house every day to cause a scene. Just then, May came home from grocery shopping. I could hear you too from outside, she said with a sigh. I know what Fiona has been doing. Dad and Mom passed away early, and my older brother took care of us. I've been tolerating her for his sake, but she's gone too far. I think we should have Ethan hire a professional agency to manage the fund. Victor readily agreed. As they were talking, Ethan, still in his study in Shanghai, saw the message from Chris's mother and immediately took to the skies. Pushing his spiritual energy to the limit, Ethan arrived at Chris's village in under an hour. He found the house and knocked. The door was opened by a middle-aged woman, her face and hands weathered by years of hard farm labor. Auntie, Ethan said gently. I'm Chris's friend, Ethan Yi. Her eyes filled with tears as she grabbed his hand. She had sent the message as a last resort, never truly believing anyone would come. She ushered him inside. They had been like brothers for 4 years in college. Seeing his friend's family in such a state, Ethan felt a deep sense of unease. Auntie, he said, please, you must tell me what happened. She took a deep breath and began. Chris had passed the civil service exam with the top score, a huge achievement that should have been a cause for celebration. But a few days later, a local thug named Barry showed up and offered him 10,000 yuan to give up the position. When they refused, Chris's father was beaten up at his construction site. On his way to help his father, Chris was ambushed, knocked unconscious, and woke up in a strange girl's bed. He was promptly arrested for rape, and his civil service appointment was revoked. Ethan's blood boiled. He clenched his fists, his knuckles turning white. These bastards, he seethed. How can they be so lawless? The woman's face was etched with worry. Child, I shouldn't have told you. These people are powerful. If you get into trouble because of this, I could never face my son. Don't worry, Auntie, Ethan said, his voice hard as steel. These people are nothing to me. Chris knew I could handle this. That's why he had you contact us. He left the house, his mind consumed by a single thought. He had to get to Chris. He flew to the local police station and used his spiritual sense to locate his friend. What he saw made his vision go red. Chris was being brutally beaten by several other inmates. In that moment, all rules, all constraints, vanished. If he couldn't even protect his own brother, what was the point of all his power? A terrifying aura exploded from him as he charged towards the station. He smashed through the front doors like a cannonball, sending anyone who tried to stop him flying. He reached Chris's cell and ripped the solid steel door off its hinges with one hand. The inmates inside stared in terror as Ethan, looking like a god of death, entered the cell. Before they could even react, he struck out with a single palm strike, and the men who had been beating Chris dropped to the floor, dead. I'm late, Chris, Ethan said, his voice choked with guilt. Chris stared at him, his eyes wide with disbelief. Ethan, you killed them. Run. Get out of here, don't worry about me. But Ethan was calm now, a chillingly confident smile on his face. Don't worry. No one in this entire country can stop me. I'd like to see who dares to try. At that moment, in the 9th Bureau headquarters in the capital, an agent burst into Director Zhong's office. Sir, an urgent report from Shandong. A suspected martial artist named Ethan Yi has attacked a police station and killed 3 inmates. The local police are mobilizing a special tactics unit to take him down. Director Zhong shot to his feet, a vein throbbing in his temple. Tell them to stand down immediately. Are they insane? That's a great grandmaster. Do they know how many of our best people they'll lose? He immediately called Mu Chongqing. Chongqing, cancel your leave. Get to Shandong now. You have to stop Ethan before he goes on a killing spree. The area around the police station was already surrounded by armed police. As Ethan walked out, an energy shield radiating from his body, sniper rounds pinged harmlessly off it, not even causing a ripple. You really think you can bully me? He said, his voice calm, but carrying over the tense silence. You have 3 minutes to leave, or you will regret it. The commanding officer on the scene, having just received a frantic call from his superiors, quickly ordered a full retreat. Just then, a team from the 9th Bureau's Shandong Division arrived. Relieved that the situation hadn't escalated further, their leader approached Ethan cautiously. Grandmaster Yi, please, remain calm. Captain Mu is on his way. For the sake of the country, please, control your anger. Ethan's eyes were like ice. I'm already being very restrained. Do not force my hand. The agents exchanged nervous glances. They could feel the immense power radiating from him. A car screeched to a halt, and Mu Chongqing stepped out. Grandmaster Yi, he said, his voice strained. My apologies for the delay. The sight of a familiar face helped to cool Ethan's rage slightly. Captain Mu, I thought this country was a just place. But my brother was framed and nearly beaten to death. I need an explanation. As he spoke, he released the full pressure of his golden core realm cultivation. He knew that only by showing his strength would he be heard. Mu Changqing felt the overwhelming power and his jaw dropped. Grandmaster, have you broken through? Ethan nodded, then retracted his aura. Mu Changqing was drenched in sweat. In just 1 month, Ethan had become one of the most powerful figures in the country. Grandmaster Yi, I assure you, I will give you a satisfactory answer, he stammered. If your brother was wronged, everyone involved will be charged with endangering national security. I trust you to keep your word, Captain, Ethan replied. Otherwise, I won't hesitate to pay a visit to the 9th Bureau myself. He then turned and left with a still-stunned Chris Chung. Mu Changqing watched them go, finally able to breathe again. He immediately called Director Zhong to report the situation, including the shocking news of Ethan's breakthrough. Investigate this matter thoroughly, Changqing, the director ordered, his voice grave. We cannot afford to alienate a talent like him. Meanwhile, Ethan took Chris to a Mercedes-Benz dealership and bought a brand new G-Wagon on the spot. As they drove away, Chris was still in shock. Ethan, are you some kind of god? Even bullets couldn't hurt you. Ethan just laughed. You finally figured it out? I'm a deity in human form, here to save you. Chris didn't buy it, but his gratitude was sincere. Thank you, Ethan. I really thought I was done for. Don't mention it, Ethan said. By the way, I only saw your mom at the house. Where's your dad? Chris's face fell. He was beaten up at work because of what happened to me. He's in the hospital. Don't worry, Ethan said, his voice hardening. The people who hurt him won't get away with it. As they approached the hospital room, they could hear a nurse demanding payment and Chris's mother pleading for more time. Ethan strode in. Auntie, don't worry, I brought Chris back safely. You two talk. I'll handle the rest. He then had the nurse lead him to the payment office. Ethan settled the hospital bill without a second thought. When he returned to the room, Chris's mother tried to kneel and thank him, but he quickly stopped her. Auntie, please don't do that. Chris and I are brothers. This is what I should do. The doctor came in and confirmed that Chris's father, Daniel, was stable and just needed to rest. Relieved, Ethan spent a little more time with them before leaving to find a hotel for the night. She was immediately concerned. Is Chris okay? I can't believe something like that would happen to him. You have to help him get justice, Ethan. Don't worry. I will, he assured her. I'll have to stay here for a few more days, but I'll be back as soon as the investigation is over. He then sent a message to his other 2 college friends, Dylan Yang and Wayne Wong, who were already on their way to Shandong. I'm here, guys. The situation is under control. Get some rest when you land. We'll meet at the hospital in the morning. Meanwhile, at the now 9th Bureau-controlled police station, the thug, Barry Bai, was being interrogated. Do you know who I am? He bellowed. You'll all regret this when I get out of here. An agent walked over and slapped him twice, hard. Get out? You're never leaving this room. Now start talking. Tell us about Daniel and Chris Chung. Barry tried to feign ignorance, but after a few more persuasive techniques from the agent, his bravado crumbled. He confessed everything, his voice trembling with fear. A few days ago, at a dinner, a local official, Director Wong, had mentioned that his daughter had failed her civil service exam, losing the top spot to the son of a migrant worker. Barry, eager to curry favor with the director, decided to intimidate the Chung family. When they refused to back down, he had Daniel beaten up and framed Chris for rape. After hearing the confession, Mu Changqing's face was like thunder. To ruin a young man's life over a single job position was pure evil. He would see to it that Chris got justice, and that everyone involved paid for what they had done. Mu Changqing hurried back to his office and immediately called Director Zhong. Director, we've gotten to the bottom of it. Ethan Ye's friend was indeed framed. He then relayed Barry Bai's full confession. Director Zhong grew angrier with every word. Changqing, investigate everyone involved. I'll be there tomorrow morning. I want you to contact Ethan Ye. I need to meet with him. The next morning, Ethan was invited to the police station. He entered the reception room to find Director Zhong standing with his back to him, looking out the window. Director Zhong standing with his back to him, looking out the window. As the door closed, the director turned. His gaze was sharp, piercing. I've heard much about you, Director Zhong, Ethan said, extending his hand. It's an honor. Director Zhong shook it. Mr. Yi, the pleasure is mine. I wanted to apologize to you in person for what happened to your friend. Director, this has nothing to do with the 9th Bureau, Ethan replied sincerely. There's no need to apologize. My only hope is that the perpetrators are severely punished and Chris's name is cleared. Rest assured, Mr. Yi, the director said. We have arrested everyone involved. The local government will also issue a public apology and provide compensation. Ethan knew the director wouldn't have come all this way just for that. Thank you, Director. But I suspect you didn't travel all this way just to tell me this. Director Zhong didn't beat around the bush. I was told that you've already reached the Golden Core realm. Is this true? Instead of answering, Ethan simply released the full, overwhelming pressure of his cultivation. Director Zhong's eyes widened in shock. A genius. To have achieved such a level at your age is truly remarkable, he said, genuinely impressed. Ethan retracted his aura. I hope this matter is now concluded. I don't wish for any further trouble. Of course, the director said quickly. On that note, Mr. Yi, have you ever considered joining the Ninth Bureau? I would like to offer you the position of Inspector General. Before Ethan could refuse, the director added, it's not an active duty role. Your only responsibility would be to supervise the conduct of our members, to prevent corruption and abuse of power. The idea intrigued Ethan. A position with no real work, but with the potential to earn system points. Director, on one condition, Ethan said. I would like to purchase the position. Name your price. Money, spirit stones, pills, whatever you need. The director was completely baffled. Why would someone want to buy a position they were being offered for free? Was he supposed to be selling offices now? But the mention of spirit stones and pills was too tempting to ignore, resources that could drastically improve the Bureau's strength. After a moment of internal struggle, Director Zhong slowly held up one finger. Fearing he would change his mind, Ethan instantly redeemed 10,000 top-grade spirit stones, 100 bottles of spirit-gathering pills, and 100 bottles of realm-breaking pills from his system. He stuffed them into a storage bag and pressed it into the director's hand. Director, here are 10,000 top-grade spirit stones, and 100 bottles each of spirit-gathering and realm-breaking pills. As we agreed, the position of Inspector General is mine. I have other matters to attend to, so I'll be leaving now. And with that, he was gone. Director Zhong stared at the heavy bag in his hand, dumbfounded. He had been about to ask for 100 mid-grade spirit stones. Just then, Mu Changqing walked in. Director? Did the meeting not go well? He seemed happy when he left. The director finally found his voice. Changqing, he said hoarsely. I think I just sold a government position. Mu Changqing shrugged. You sold it to Ethan, right? With his power, he could be the director. You've just secured a powerful ally for the Bureau. No one will say a thing. Director Zhong handed the storage bag to Mu Changqing. Look at this before you say anything else. Mu Changqing peered inside, and his eyes nearly popped out of his head. My God, Director. Did you empty out the entire Bureau's treasury? Wait, we don't have this many top-grade spirit stones. The director turned to stare out the window. Do you think number one will have me shot when he finds out I sold the Inspector General position for 10,000 top-grade spirit stones? Mu Changqing considered this seriously. No, I think he'll ask you to sell him the director's position, too. The director snatched the bag back. Stop messing around. We're going back to the capital immediately to report this to number one in person. In the capital, number one listened patiently to Director Zhong's report, then examined Ethan's file and the contents of the storage bag. After a long silence, he started to laugh. Well done, Zhong, he said, startling both men. However, all these resources are to be invested in the Ninth Bureau's development. And make sure Ethan Yi is firmly tied to our side. The world is not as peaceful as it seems. Meanwhile, Ethan rushed to the hospital, where Dylan and Wayne had just arrived. The hallway outside Daniel Cheng's room was packed with people, local officials, reporters, and well-wishers, all trying to get a look at the man at the center of the scandal. Let's go to their house instead, Ethan suggested. Chris's dad is being discharged today anyway. That afternoon, the four friends were finally reunited at the Chung family home. So, Chris, what are your plans now? Ethan asked. Are you still going to stay here? You and your parents are welcome to come to Shanghai with me. Or come up to the Northeast with me if they don't like the South, Dylan added. Chris was quiet for a moment. The local leaders came to the hospital this morning, he said finally. They apologized, cleared my name, gave me back my position, and even offered me a promotion. I want to stay here and try to make a difference. Ethan clapped him on the shoulder. We respect your decision. But if you're going into politics, you have to be careful. Never take money you shouldn't. He offered Chris a bank card. Here's 20 million, so you'll never be tempted. Chris immediately refused. I can't take that, Ethan. You know I'm not that kind of person. Just take it, man, Wayne chimed in. You have no idea how loaded this guy is. This is pocket change for him. After much persuasion from all three of his friends, Chris finally, reluctantly, accepted the money. Chapter 123. Ethan stood up. You guys chat. I'll go grab some food so we can celebrate Chris and his dad being home safe. He decided to walk to the nearby market. As he was buying some cooked dishes, he overheard a group of villagers gossiping. Did you hear? Daniel's son Chris was released. Yeah, I heard the officials cleared his name. Said he was framed. They even came to town to explain it all. That may be, but what about the Jia family's daughter, Serena? I heard she hasn't left the house in days, just crying her eyes out. It's a terrible situation. A young, unmarried girl found in bed with a man. How can she ever explain that? That Thugberry buy is a real piece of work. At least Chris had the officials to back him up. But the Jia girl's reputation is ruined. Who's going to marry her now? Ethan felt a pang of guilt. He got the Jia family's address from a local shop owner and went to their house. The gate was shut tight. Using his spiritual sense, he saw a middle-aged man smoking furiously in the courtyard, while inside, a woman and a young girl were crying. He knocked. A man with a grim face, George Jia, opened the gate. Who are you? What do you want? Mr. Jia, my name is Ethan. I'm a friend of Chris Chung. I heard about what happened, and I came to see if there's anything I can do to help. The moment he mentioned Chris's name, The man's face darkened with rage. Get out of here. We don't need anything from you, he roared, slamming the gate shut. Defeated, Ethan returned to Chris's house and told everyone what had happened. This is a difficult situation, Daniel Chung said after a moment of thought. That poor girl is an innocent victim. In a small town like this, gossip can be more deadly than a knife. We can't just ignore her suffering. Wayne, ever curious, asked, So, Chris, what actually happened between you two that day? Chris's face turned bright red. I was knocked out. I don't really know, but I think I might have kissed her. Ethan's expression grew serious. You two grew up together, right? From Mr. Gia's reaction, it's clear he wants you to take responsibility. Innocent or not, the fact is, you were both found in the same bed. Dylan grinned. It's obvious, man. You clearly have a thing for her, or you wouldn't have kissed her. I think you should just marry her. Chris's mother's eyes lit up. Dylan's right. Serena is a wonderful, kind-hearted girl. Daniel, what if we go over and propose tomorrow morning? Why wait for tomorrow? Daniel declared, a man of action. We'll go right now. What if the girl does something drastic? Chris looked flustered. Isn't this a bit too fast? I'm not ready. And what if she doesn't want to? Ethan spoke up. Chris, this might be the best solution. Her reputation has been damaged because of this. If you marry her, you can restore her honor and mend the relationship between your families. It's just a suggestion, of course. The final decision is yours. Daniel looked at his son's indecisive face. Son, I'll ask you one thing. Do you, or do you not, like Serena? Chapter 124. Chris's face turned beet red. He looked down at the floor and mumbled, Dad, I'll leave it to you. Daniel Chung roared with laughter, slapping his chopsticks on the table. Excellent. Then let's go to the Jia house right now. They helped Daniel into the car and made a quick stop at a nearby shop, buying up a small mountain of expensive gifts. Soon, the group arrived at the Jia residence. Daniel knocked and called out, George, it's me, Daniel. Open up. I have something important to discuss. George Jia opened the door, his face souring when he saw the Chung family. You've got a lot of nerve showing your face here. If you don't give me a proper explanation today, don't blame me for what happens. Daniel remained calm and smiled. George, the whole neighborhood is watching. Why don't we talk inside? George glanced at the curious neighbors, grunted, and reluctantly let them in. What is there to talk about? Your son and my daughter were in bed together. My family is disgraced, he raged, pointing a finger at Daniel. Daniel just smiled. Brother George, calm down. It's a complicated situation, but what's done is done. We won't let Serena suffer. In fact, I'm here today to formally propose marriage. Propose? In your dreams. George scoffed. I won't agree to this marriage unless your son comes to get her in a grand wedding sedan with all the proper rights. Otherwise, forget it. This was exactly what Daniel had hoped to hear. Of course. We'll do everything you say. I'll start the preparations at once. We'll give Serena the grandest wedding this town has ever seen. George's anger began to fade. He knew it wasn't really the Chung family's fault, but seeing his precious daughter so distraught had broken his heart. All right, Daniel, sit down, he said, his tone softening. How is Serena now? I know she's a good girl. You'd better treat her like your own daughter when she marries into your family. Ever since that day, she's barely said a word. George sighed. I don't know how to help her. Ethan stepped forward. Mr. Jia, perhaps the person who tied the knot should be the one to untie it. Why not let Chris go in and talk to her alone? We'll all be right here. George considered it for a moment, then nodded. Chris gently knocked and entered Serena's room. She was curled up on the bed, her back to him, crying softly. He could see her tear-streaked, Chaozi face in the vanity mirror. They had grown up together, but had drifted apart after high school when she started working locally. Serena, it's me, he said softly. She spun around, and fresh tears streamed down her face when she saw him. Chris, you're okay. I was so scared I'd ruined your life. I didn't call the police, you didn't do anything wrong. But they threatened me. They said if I told the truth, they would kill my parents and my brother. He gently patted her head. It's okay. It's all over now. When they came out of the room together, George rushed to his daughter. Serena, you're finally out. I was so worried. He turned to his wife. Honey, go make her something to eat. Daniel smiled at George. Go on. Tell her the good news we discussed. George took a deep breath. Serena, Daniel is here to propose. Chris wants to marry you, and I've already accepted. We're going to have a big, beautiful wedding. No one is going to look down on my daughter. Serena blushed a deep crimson and looked at the floor. Dad, I'll listen to you. Just then, as Wayne was heading out the door, a young man who looked like a younger version of George Jia stormed into the house. The young man pointed an accusing finger at Chris. You bastard. You still have the nerve to come to my house. Do you think our family is easy to bully? He lunged at Chris. David, stop it. George Jia roared. This is still my house, and I'm in charge. Brother, you've misunderstood. Serena cried, rushing forward. Nothing happened between me and Chris that day. David stopped, confused. He didn't touch you? Then why did you lock yourself in your room and refuse to talk? Those men threatened me, Serena explained quickly. They said they'd hurt you and our parents if I told the truth. Then I heard Chris had been arrested, and I was terrified it was my fault. George turned to Daniel, embarrassed. Daniel, about this. Don't worry about it, George, Daniel said with a wave of his hand. My word is my bond. Besides, look at those two. It seems this unfortunate incident has led to something good. Relieved, George said. Since that's settled, let's just have a simple wedding ceremony. There's no need to make a big fuss. I was being too rash before. But Daniel shook his head. No, Brother George. We must have a grand wedding. We know the truth, but the rest of the town doesn't. If we have a quiet wedding, it will only fuel the gossip and Serena will suffer for it. Leave the arrangements to me. At that moment, Wayne returned. He had slipped out to buy firecrackers and had also ordered a celebratory feast from a local restaurant, which was now being delivered. He went to the front gate and lit the long string of firecrackers. The explosive sounds drew a crowd of curious neighbors. What's going on at the Ja house? One of them asked. Wayne grinned proudly. My uncle Daniel just came to propose on behalf of his son, Chris. The engagement is official, so of course we have to celebrate. The news spread through the crowd like wildfire. Later that evening, after the feast, the four brothers were relaxing at the Chung house. You're a lucky man, Chris, Dylan said with a smile. Serena is a wonderful girl. You'd better treat her right. It was a rough patch, but it all worked out for the best, Ethan agreed. My work here is done, so I'll be heading back to Shanghai soon. The Mercedes G-Wagon is yours. Consider it a wedding gift. He tossed the keys to Chris. Hey, Ethan, Wayne piped up. When I get married, you'd better get me a nice car, too. And speaking of which, don't you think I deserve a raise? I need to save up for a big wedding gift for Chris. How much are you making now? Ethan asked, genuinely curious. I think it's about $500,000 a year, Wayne said. Wow, that's great. I'll be making $1 million a year, he exclaimed after Ethan said he'd have Hudson double it. Ethan just laughed. Is that all you want? We're brothers. How about $1 million a month? I'll text Hudson right now. He sent the message without a second thought. Dylan and Chris stared at him, stunned into silence by his casual display of wealth. Wayne puffed out his chest. See? I told you guys. We just need to stick with Ethan. Why bother working so hard? Dylan and Chris exchanged a look, then shouted in unison, Get him! Ethan watched with a smile as his three friends wrestled and laughed on the floor. He cherished these moments of pure, uncomplicated brotherhood and hoped they would still be just as carefree decades from now. After saying his goodbyes, he found a secluded spot, summoned his sword, and flew back toward Shanghai. Nina had been staying at the villa for several days. She was relaxing in a bubble bath when Sasha called. Nina, have you seen the news? Something huge happened to Universal Group. Sasha's voice was frantic. Universal is a massive company, Nina said, confused. What could possibly happen to it? Where are you? Let's talk in person, Sasha urged. Curious, Nina gave her the address. Half an hour later, Sasha burst into the villa. What is going on that's so important you had to come all the way here? Nina asked. You? How can you be so clueless about Ethan's business? Sasha scolded. Haven't you seen the news? Universal Group has been acquired by the Chu and Han families from the capital. Nina was stunned. Ethan had never mentioned any problems with the company. Sasha, do you think he's really upset? I have to go to him. I have to go to Shandong right now. He's not in Shanghai? Sasha asked, bewildered. At a critical time like this? His friend was in trouble. Nina explained anxiously as she started packing. I have to book a flight. Just as she was about to leave, Ethan walked through the front door. Seeing Sasha, he raised an eyebrow. Nina, are you and Sasha going out? Nina rushed into his arms, pounding his chest lightly. Ethan, why didn't you tell me something so big was happening with the company? I have the dowry money my aunt gave me. I'll go get it for you. Whatever happens, we'll face it together. Hearing her words, Ethan knew his plan was working perfectly. He was deeply touched by her concern. Nina, calm down, he said softly. It's all part of my plan. And you keep that dowry money. How else am I supposed to marry you? Don't you want to marry me anymore? Of course I do, she said, a happy smile breaking through her worried expression. He stroked her hair. Thank you for trusting me. But I need you to keep this a secret for now. Sasha cleared her throat loudly. Are you two done? You're making me sick. Maybe. We could be a throuple. Nina blushed and quickly pulled away from Ethan. He just chuckled. Sasha, what brings you here today? You, she said, shooting him a dirty look. I heard Universal was acquired, and I rushed over here to comfort you. I can't have my future as the wealthy second wife turn into the indebted second wife. Nina was used to Sasha's bluntness. Well, second wife, she said playfully. Since you're here, you can help escort the first wife back to our husband's chambers for a rest. They all burst into laughter. After Sasha left, Nina looked at Ethan, still a little worried. Is the company really okay? If you're in trouble, you have to tell me. I can support you if I have to. Ethan pulled her into his arms. You dare to question me? It seems I'll have to discipline you properly. As he carried her to the bedroom, she seemed to give herself to him with a newfound passion, perhaps due to the enhancement of her body from cultivation. Afterwards, she lay on his chest. Ethan, she whispered. What do you think about having a baby? I could take a semester off school. He kissed her forehead. Of course. As soon as I've dealt with all this, we'll get married. I won't let you suffer any injustice. The next morning, Felix Liu arrived at Charles Chu's villa, bursting with excitement. Charles, we did it. We've successfully acquired 60% of Universal Group's shares. What's our next move? A flicker of contempt crossed Charles's face, but he quickly masked it with a smile. Patience, Felix. We may have the majority stake, but Luna Shun is still in charge. Our first priority is to replace her. Felix, already scheming to get a piece of the pie for himself, said fawningly, well, Charles, seeing as I sacrificed my own company for this venture, it only makes sense that I should be the one to take over as president of Universal. I'll be completely loyal to you, of course. Charles's smile was thin. Greed isn't a good look, Felix. You only contributed 20% of the capital, remember? Felix's heart skipped a beat. Were they trying to cut him out? Don't forget, I still hold 12% of the shares, he threatened. If I switch sides, all your efforts will be for nothing. Spencer Han, who had just walked in, quickly stepped between them. Gentlemen, let's not fight. We're all on the same side, and we have a common enemy. Let's not let minor disagreements get in the way. Felix knew he couldn't actually side with Ethan. He backed down. You're right. I was impulsive. Tell me what to do next. Charles and Spencer exchanged a look, then said in unison, Finlin. Finlin. Felix had never heard the name. He's a friend of mine, Charles explained. He's more than capable of running the company. He has extensive management experience from his time working for a top international firm. And with our backing, he'll lead Universal to new heights. Felix reluctantly agreed. Fine, but I want it done quickly. I can't stand the sight of that Luna Shun a moment longer. Back at the villa, Ethan and Nina were asleep in each other's arms when the bedroom door burst open. Elaine stood there, a huge grin on her face, about to shout surprise. When she saw the scene inside, her face turned bright red, and she quickly fled, muttering, I didn't see anything. I don't know anything. Ethan looked at Nina, who seemed completely unfazed. Aren't you embarrassed? He asked. Elaine already knows we live together, Nina said with a shrug. She told your aunt. And you've already given the dowry. What is there to be embarrassed about? She then leaned in and gave him a deep kiss. Isn't this normal, my love? We're in love. He chuckled, charmed by her frankness. Let's get dressed and go see what that little rascal is up to. They found Elaine curled up on the sofa, hiding her face. Elaine curled up on the sofa, hiding her face. Elaine, Ethan said gently, what brings you all the way from Tianjin? She peeked up at him. I got my driver's license. And, school is starting soon. Ethan chuckled at his sister's awkwardness. What happened to my lively, mischievous little sister? You're a young woman now, you know. You can't just barge into your brother's room like you used to. Elaine's face turned an even deeper shade of red. I'm sorry, brother. I didn't know Nina was here. I won't do it again. Nina couldn't help but laugh. She ruffled Elaine's hair. So you got your license? How about we have your brother take you to look at some cars? Is there anything you have your eye on? Elaine's shyness vanished instantly. Yes, a Porsche 911. Can we go right now? The three of them headed straight to a luxury car dealership. A familiar salesperson, Lily Lin, greeted them warmly. Mr. Yi, it's so good to see you again. Lily, long time no see, Ethan said with a smile. I'm here to buy a Porsche 911 for my sister. Do you have a fully loaded one in stock? And by the way, has Victor Wong been bothering you again? Lily's smile widened. Thank you for asking, Mr. Yi. He hasn't dared to show his face since you taught him that lesson. We do have 1911 in stock. Would you like to see it? No need, Ethan said. Just bring me the contract. Half an hour later, Elaine drove off happily in her dream car. As she left, another salesperson came up to Lily. You're amazing, Lily. You'll definitely be the top seller this month. Lily just smiled, her eyes following the car as it disappeared down the street. Just then, Ethan received a text from Luna Shun. The shareholder meeting was scheduled for that afternoon. Since he had nothing else to do, he decided to make an appearance. He and Nina drove to the Universal Investment offices. Everyone was already there. Charles Chu, Spencer Han, and Felix Liu glared at him as he walked in, but Ethan ignored them and took his seat at the head of the table, with Nina and Luna standing behind him. Ethan ignored them and took his seat at the head of the table, with Nina and Luna standing behind him. Nina and Luna standing behind him. Well, Ethan, Charles said smugly, we now control 60% of Universal Group. It's time for you to pack your bags. Regret messing with me yet? Ethan just smiled. I still have 40% of the shares, valued at 400 billion. Do you want them or not? I might consider selling. The three men exchanged a look. After a frantic half hour of calls, the Chu and Han families agreed to split the cost and buy out Ethan's remaining shares. Felix Liu was left out of the deal, fuming silently. Once the money was transferred, Ethan smiled at the two triumphant young men. Congratulations. You now own 88% of Universal Group. I imagine the Chu and Han family coffers are a bit empty now, though. So what if they are? Charles scoffed. Universal has $1 trillion in its accounts that we can use anytime we want. Now get out, you and Luna. You have nothing to do with this company anymore. The new president will be Fin Lin. Just then, Fin Lin stepped out from the crowd and thanked Charles and Spencer for their trust. As Ethan was leaving, he paused by Felix Liu. How does it feel, Felix? To be used as a pawn and then tossed aside like trash. Getting you kicked out of Universal was worth it, Felix snarled. You'll regret crossing me, you little punk. Ethan just smirked. I'm sure you remember the name Hudson Yi. He works for me. By now, your precious company and all those other firms that partnered with you have probably been merged into a brand new group. I bet you never saw that coming. Did you, Felix? Felix's eyes widened in horror. He pointed a trembling finger at Ethan, his mouth opening and closing, but no words came out. Then, he collapsed to the floor in a dead faint. Ethan turned his attention back to the other two. Gentlemen, as the new majority shareholders, I'm sure you're familiar with loan agreements. A while back, I personally lent Universal Investment $2 trillion. The contract states that I can demand repayment at any time. So, I guess it's time for you to figure out how to pay me back. Their faces went pale. This had to be a bluff. If it was true, the Chu and Han families would be utterly ruined. You tricked us, Ethan, Charles sputtered. But don't forget who my family is. That's right, Spencer added. Even a cornered rabbit will bite back. So, it's either pay up or fight, Ethan said with a cold smile. You choose. Oh, and by the way, I was just appointed Inspector General of the Ninth Bureau. He turned and walked away, leaving them in a state of utter despair. Outside, Ethan told Luna, while you're collecting the debt, don't forget to start acquiring shares in the Chu and Han companies. Even if this doesn't kill them, they'll be on life support for a long time. Her eyes gleamed with excitement. Don't worry, Mr. Yi. I won't let this opportunity slip away. Back in the car, Nina looked at him with stars in her eyes. That was amazing, Ethan. You're like a master strategist, winning the war from 1,000 miles away. He grinned. Of course. I have to be handsome and powerful for my wife. Now, where would you like to go? I'm all yours for the rest of the day. They ended up at Disneyland, where Nina ran from ride to ride like an excited child, laughing and squealing with delight. As they watched the fireworks that evening, Ethan said, I have to go to the US in a couple of days. Do you want to come with me? Her face fell. You're leaving again? All the way to America? Won't it be dangerous? School starts in a few days, so I can't go with you. He gently pinched her nose. It's a members' conference for Universal Bank. It's perfectly safe. She sighed. Okay, I'm going to miss you. Let's go home. Just then, an idea struck Ethan. The upgraded system space could now hold people. System, he asked in his mind. Can I give Nina special permission to enter and exit the system space freely? The system replied. Yes, host. It will cost 20,000 points. And when she exits, can I set a fixed return location for her? That will cost an additional 100,000 points. She will then have the option to return to the fixed location or the point of entry. Perfect. Back at the villa, as Nina started to undress, thinking he wanted to make love, Ethan grabbed her. I want to take you somewhere, he whispered, and then pulled her into the system space, granting her the special permissions. Nina stared in awe at the miraculous space, her heart pounding with a mixture of shock and joy. Ethan, this is incredible. We can meet here no matter where you are. It's a little empty, though. Ethan just smiled mysteriously and, with a flick of his wrist, a magnificent, ancient-style manor materialized before them. Nina's jaw dropped. What? What kind of magic is this? Can you teach me? Ethan was at a loss for words. It wasn't magic, it was just the system. He decided a small white lie was in order. It's not magic, just a little trick I picked up. I've always been interested in formations and illusions. This space is just a creation of mine. Nina looked at him with pure adoration. You're amazing. Can you teach me? It's very difficult, he hedged, deciding to change the subject. Don't you want to go inside? This is our little home away from home. You can even give it a name. She thought for a moment. Everything here feels like a wonderful dream. Let's call it the Garden of Dreams. My dear Miss Lee, Ethan said with a dramatic bow as he opened the manor's heavy doors. Welcome to the Garden of Dreams. Shall we tour our little love nest? Nina giggled and leaped onto his back. Aren't you going to carry your beloved Miss Lee on a grand tour, Mr. Yi? The estate was breathtaking. Manicured lawns, vibrant flower beds, a winding stone path leading to an elegant fountain. In the back was a tranquil garden with a small pavilion by a shimmering lake. It was a perfect, peaceful paradise. They lay on the soft grass, holding hands, the warmth of the sun on their skin. Ethan, Nina whispered, a hint of fear in her voice. I'm so scared that this is all just a dream, that I'll wake up and still be the girl who could only watch you from afar. He sat up and took her hands in his. I'm scared too, Nina. Scared of waking up in that old, run-down apartment, alone again. But I know this isn't a dream. You are real, and we have to cherish this. Tears of joy welled up in her eyes. She pulled him close and kissed him, a kiss that was both tender and passionate. Love me, Ethan, she murmured against his lips. I'm all yours. And there, in the soft grass of their garden of dreams, they made love, their passion a brilliant firework in the silent, perfect sky. Meanwhile, in the meeting hall of the Chu family in the capital, the mood was grim. The most important members of both the Chu and Han families were gathered, their faces dark and silent. Suddenly, the doors were thrown open with a loud bang. A tall young man strode in, his expression cold and resolute. It was the Chu family's eldest son, Clayton Chu. His father, Caspian, rushed to meet him. "Clayton, is the news confirmed?" Clayton Chu nodded grimly. "Father, it's true. Ethan has been appointed Inspector General of the Ninth Bureau. And he's not just a Grandmaster as we were led to believe. He's reached the Golden Core realm." Caspian Chu sank back into his chair, his face a mask of despair. The news was a devastating blow. They were completely outmatched. Franklin Han's face was ashen. "Is there truly no other way? Must we pay back the full $2 trillion? We've invested everything we have in acquiring Universal Group. What choice do we have?" Caspian replied, his voice hollow. "Unless you can find a way to kill him, we have to pay. We should be thankful there's still cash in Universal's accounts. Otherwise, both our families would be finished." Franklin Han sighed and left without another word. There was nothing more to discuss. In a hospital in Shanghai, Felix Liu learned of the events that had transpired after he fainted. A part of him felt a grim satisfaction that the Chu and Han families had fallen into Ethan's trap, but his hatred for Ethan only deepened. He had gone from a tycoon worth $200 billion to a ruined man with over $40 billion in debt. He summoned his bodyguard and ordered him to arrange for his immediate discharge. Then, he went straight to the airport and boarded the first flight to Hong Kong. At the same time, Ethan was on his own flight to New York. As he settled in, a familiar voice called his name. "Ethan, what a coincidence. Are you heading to New York for fun? Why isn't Nina with you?" It was Sasha Zheng. "Sasha?" Ethan asked, surprised. "School is about to start. What are you doing going to New York?" "Didn't Nina tell you?" she said, beaming with pride. "I'm a student at Columbia University. Your second wife is pretty impressive, right?" Ethan was genuinely shocked. He had never imagined the playful, mischievous Sasha was a student at such a prestigious university. "That's amazing, Sasha. That's one of the best universities in the world." "Of course it is. I'm smart, beautiful, and sweet. Are you sure you don't want to reconsider?" she teased. "I'm Nina's boyfriend," he said with a smile. "Aren't you afraid this would cause a problem between you two?" "What's to worry about?" she said airily. "If you say yes, I'll talk to Nina myself. The two of us could make you very happy." He was so taken aback he could only stay silent. "So," she continued, "are you here for business or pleasure? I know this city like the back of my hand. I'd be happy to be your guide." Ethan had never been to New York and didn't even know where the Universal Bank headquarters was. Her offer was a godsend. "I'm here for the Universal Bank Members Conference. Do you happen to know where the Universal Hotel is?" She knew all about the exclusive conference, reserved for the world's wealthiest individuals. Her eyes lit up. "Of course. It's in Manhattan. I'll take you, but on one condition. You have to bring me to the conference with you. Don't worry. Each member can bring 1 to 3 guests." "It's a deal," he agreed. A short while after they landed, a luxury car pulled up to the curb where Ethan was waiting. The window rolled down to reveal Sasha's smiling face. "Get in," she said. Soon, they pulled up to the Universal Hotel. As they walked into the lobby, they immediately drew stares. The hotel was closed to the public for the conference. Only invited members were allowed. A staff member quickly approached them. "I'm sorry, sir and madam, but the hotel is currently closed to outside guests. Please find accommodations elsewhere." Ethan inwardly panicked. His English was barely passable. Just as he was wondering what to do, he remembered the system store. He instantly redeemed the world language proficiency skill. Filled with newfound confidence, he smoothly pulled the invitation from his pocket and handed it to the staff member. "We're not outside guests," he said in perfect English. "We're here for the Universal Bank Members Conference." The staff member examined the invitation, and his face went pale. He bowed deeply. "My deepest apologies, esteemed Zenith Black card member. Please forgive my ignorance. It's just, you are so young. The hotel has already prepared a suite for you, and of course, all your expenses during your stay will be complimentary. This way, please." The staff member had chosen a romantic suite for them. After handing them the key cards, he discreetly left. Ethan looked at the intimate setup and turned to Sasha awkwardly. "Maybe I should ask them to get another room?" She looked at him with an amused glint in her eye. "What, Ethan? Don't you want to take advantage of such a perfect opportunity? Nina isn't here, you know." To say he wasn't tempted would be a lie, but his conscience won out. Just as he was about to leave, Sasha burst out laughing. "You're a funny one, Ethan. I'm just kidding. I have my own place here. I'll see you later. Don't forget to call me when the conference starts." As she left, Ethan breathed a sigh of relief. He sent a quick text to Nina telling her he'd arrived safely, then decided to go downstairs for a bite to eat. In the restaurant, he saw a large Russian man and a smaller Japanese man arguing heatedly through a translator. The sight of the little Japanese man, red-faced with anger, was so comical that Ethan couldn't help but let out a chuckle. The man immediately turned on him. "Baka, you Chinese pig, how dare you laugh at me, Tomokazu Chimoto." The vile slur ignited a fire in Ethan's veins. In a flash, he was in front of Chimoto, and the sound of a sharp slap echoed through the restaurant. Chimoto flew several feet and landed in a heap, spitting out blood and a few broken teeth. He glared at Ethan with pure hatred. "You bastard, you dare to hit me? I am the president of the Chimoto Group. Get on your knees and apologize right now, or I will destroy you and your entire family." Ethan spat on the floor in disgust. "Scum like you are a waste of air." Just then, hotel security arrived. After reviewing the security footage, an officer approached Ethan. "Mr. Yi, the footage shows that you struck Mr. Chimoto first. If you two cannot resolve this amicably, I'm afraid we'll have to ask you both to leave." Before Ethan could respond, the large Russian man spoke up. "I am a witness. The Japanese man insulted my Chinese friend first. That is why he retaliated. If you unfairly expel this Chinese brother from the conference, then I, on behalf of all the Russian businessmen present, will withdraw from this event." Seeing the situation escalating, a hotel executive, Alec Bird, rushed over to play peacemaker. "Gentlemen, please, it was just a small misunderstanding. Let's not spoil the evening for our other members." The security guards backed off. Chimoto, realizing he wouldn't win this fight, shot a venomous glare at Ethan and the Russian, then allowed his companions to help him away. After nodding to Alec Bird, Ethan returned to his table. The big Russian man came over, grinning broadly. "My dear comrade, my name is Petrov, owner of the Russian Oil and Gas Group. That was some amazing Chinese kung fu. Don't mind those Japanese dogs. They're only fit to dig for potatoes in Siberia." Seeing that Petrov shared his dislike for the Japanese, Ethan smiled back. "A pleasure to meet you, Mr. Petrov. Since we've met under such circumstances, why don't we have a drink together?" At the mention of alcohol, Petrov's eyes lit up. He immediately had his assistant bring 2 bottles of vodka. "Ethan, try our Russian vodka. This is a real man's drink, not like that weak Japanese sake that's no better than water." Ethan took a large gulp and immediately started coughing, his face turning red. Petrov roared with laughter, clapping him on the back. "Easy, my friend, this stuff is strong." The 2 men drank and talked, finding they had much in common. After they had finished both bottles, Petrov stood up and declared, "Ethan, I've decided. From now on, you are my friend." Ethan laughed heartily. "And you are mine." Petrov's expression then turned serious. "You need to be careful of that Chimoto. He comes from a powerful family, and the Japanese are known for their cunning. If you sense any trouble, you must let me know immediately." Ethan nodded, assuring him that if Chimoto tried anything, he would live to regret it. "Brother Petrov," Ethan said, "what exactly is the agenda for tomorrow's conference? This is my first time." "Don't overthink it, my brother," Petrov said with a wave. "Everyone here is a top tycoon from their country. Universal Bank just provides the platform for us to network and talk business. Of course, plenty of international deals get made here every year." "So what are you interested in?" Ethan asked. Petrov leaned in conspiratorially. "I'm interested in new energy. I heard there might be some opportunities in solar and wind power." "What about you?" Ethan thought for a moment. "To be honest, brother, I'm mostly here to learn. But if I see a promising project, I might consider investing." Petrov's eyes lit up. "Are you interested in a hard currency like oil and natural gas? My company just discovered a massive new oil field in the Far East. Shipping it west would be too expensive, but if we could transport it to China, it would be a win-win for both of us." The proposal intrigued Ethan, but he knew a deal of that magnitude would require official government involvement. "Brother, that's a very tempting offer," he said. "Let's discuss it further after the conference opens tomorrow. For now, I think I've had enough to drink for one night." Back in his room, Ethan considered his options. He didn't have any high-level government contacts. After some thought, he decided to call the one person who might be able to help, Director Zhong. "Director," Ethan said, trying to sound casual, "how have you been?" "Inspector Yi?" Director Zhong sounded surprised. "Isn't it the middle of the night where you are? It's just after 8 in the morning here in China. Is something wrong?" Ethan had forgotten the time difference. He quickly explained that he was in the US for the conference and had just met Petrov. He laid out the oil and gas opportunity. Director Zhong was well aware of who Petrov was. He was a giant in the energy world, with deep ties to the military. Chinese companies had been trying to get a meeting with him for years, and Ethan had just stumbled into a partnership. "Inspector, this is a tricky situation," the director said. "In China, resources like oil and gas are state monopolies. Private enterprises can't operate in that sector." Ethan's heart sank, but then the director continued. "However, given our country's great demand for these resources, I have a workaround. You sign the contract with Petrov as a private individual. The state will then purchase the resources from you at a 25% markup over the contract price. What do you think?" Ethan considered the proposal. It seemed like a viable way to bypass a lot of red tape. He agreed to the plan. After hanging up, Director Zhong shook his head with a wry smile. "That Ethan really knows how to make work for people," he muttered to himself. "Looks like I'll have to report this to number 1. After a series of stringent security checks, he was in number 1's office. "Zhong," number 1 said, looking up from his papers with a smile, "you've been visiting quite frequently lately. What is it this time?" Encouraged by the good mood, Director Zhong quickly relayed the details of Ethan's call. Number 1 listened, and then laughed. This young man, Ethan, continues to surprise me. I was planning to discuss this very issue with the Russian president during his visit next month, and he's already solved it for me. Go ahead, Zhong. I approve this plan. Meanwhile, back in his home in Hong Kong, Felix Liu was drinking himself into a stupor. He had called all of his so-called friends, and every single one had rejected him, avoiding him like the plague. The fall from grace was more than he could bear. All of it, he thought, was Ethan's fault. Consumed by a blind, irrational hatred, he found the number for Vincent Ding, a notorious triad boss in Hong Kong, and made the call. Ding, Felix said, his voice slurring slightly. It's Felix Liu. I want you to kill someone for me. I'll pay you 1 billion. Ding laughed. Mr. Liu, I heard you'd run into some trouble, but it seems the rumors of your demise were exaggerated. 1 billion is a generous offer. Who's the lucky target? The former owner of Universal Group in Shanghai, Ethan Yi. Felix spat. There was a pause. I'm sorry, Mr. Liu, Ding said. If you wanted someone taken care of in Hong Kong, that would be easy. But the mainland is a different story. I can't help you. You'll have to find someone else. Desperate, Felix pleaded. Is there really nothing you can do? What about this then? Can you take out Hudson Yi for me? Money is no object. After another long silence, Ding replied. Taking care of Hudson Yi. That's not impossible. But I'll need the money up front. If you agree, meet me at the Shanghu bar tonight. That night, Felix walked into the dimly lit bar. A man with bleached blonde hair led him upstairs to a private room. Vincent Ding was waiting for him. Mr. Liu, the triad boss said smoothly. I can solve your problem, but only after I've been paid in full. Felix hesitated for a moment, then handed over a prepared cashier's check. Ding examined the number on the check and smiled. A pleasure doing business with you. Don't worry, Mr. Liu. From this moment on, your troubles are over. He clapped his hands. The door opened, and a large, intimidating man walked in. It was Hudson Yi. Felix jumped to his feet, a triumphant, crazed smile spreading across his face. The 10 billion was worth every penny. Hudson Yi, you never thought this day would come, did you? This is what you get for choosing the wrong boss. Ha ha. Hudson just looked at him with an expression of pity, as if watching a performing monkey. Felix, he said softly, what makes you think he would choose to help a jumping clown like you over me? Felix's face froze. He slowly turned to look at Vincent Ding, his eyes wide with terror. What? What is the meaning of this? Ding rose slowly from the sofa. Like I said, Mr. Liu, from now on, you don't have to worry about a thing. Do you understand what I mean now? Felix panicked, trying to explain himself, but Vincent Ding simply held up a hand to silence him. There's no need, Mr. Liu. The wise man accepts his fate. You should do the same. Hudson Yi advanced on him, his eyes like chips of ice. Did you really think your money could buy my life, Felix? You were doomed the moment you decided to oppose Mr. Yi. Felix scrambled backwards until his back hit the wall. Please, Ding, he sobbed, tears and snot streaming down his face. I have more money. I'll give you everything I have. Just let me go. Hudson had already lost interest. He turned to the triad boss. I'll leave the rest to you. With that, he walked out of the room. As Hudson's footsteps faded, Ding looked at Felix with an empty expression. It's time, Mr. Liu. Felix stared at him, his mind reeling with one last, desperate question. Why, Ding? We had a history. Why would you help him against me? A flicker of memory crossed Ding's face, quickly replaced by a deep, profound fear. Mr. Liu, do you have any idea how powerful Mr. Yi truly is? He could destroy my entire organization, everything I've built for decades, with a single thought. Helping you would have been suicide. A short time later, the once great tycoon of Hong Kong, Felix Liu, met his end, filled with an all-consuming regret. Back in New York, Ethan changed into a tailored suit and texted Sasha. They had agreed to meet in the hotel lobby before the conference. When he arrived, he saw her waiting, looking stunning in a gorgeous, backless evening gown. You didn't have to get so dressed up, Sasha, he said with a smile. It's a high-class event, she replied, linking her arm in his. We have to look the part. Besides, there's probably going to be a cocktail party afterwards. Come on, let's go in. The conference hall was already filled with a glittering crowd of international elites. Petrov spotted Ethan immediately and came over to greet him. My brother, I had a great time last night. We must drink again after the conference. And this beautiful lady must be your wife. You are a lucky man. We'll definitely drink again, Ethan said with a laugh, then introduced Sasha. So she is not your girlfriend yet, Petrov said with a wink. You must work faster, my brother. A woman like this is a rare treasure. Ethan decided it was pointless to try and explain. He and Sasha found their seats just as the host took the stage to officially begin the conference. Ladies and gentlemen, the host boomed. Welcome to this gathering of the world's top magnates. A distinguished, elderly man in a fine suit then walked to the podium. Welcome, everyone, he said, his voice rich and commanding. I am the head of Universal Bank, Nick Rothschild. The people in this room control over 80% of the world's total wealth. To maintain our positions, it is imperative that we strengthen our connections and cooperate. I invite you now to discuss potential collaborations and to review the many projects my Rothschild family has to offer. The room immediately broke into a flurry of excited conversation. The projects on display were revolutionary, spanning cutting-edge fields like artificial intelligence, biotechnology, quantum computing, and innovative financial concepts like green finance and digital currency. The atmosphere was electric, a battlefield of ideas and ambitions. The tycoons gathered around gilded tables, listening intently to a presentation on a new hydrogen energy technology that promised to reshape the global energy landscape. The discussion then shifted to a blockchain investment project aimed at creating a more secure and transparent global financial platform. These were more than just business deals. They were bold explorations of the future. Every decision made in this room had the potential to profoundly impact the daily lives of everyone on the planet. Sasha, in her dazzling gown, moved gracefully through the crowd. She listened with rapt attention as the titans of industry and finance discussed their grand visions for the future. Ethan, on the other hand, was less than impressed. With enough points, he could simply buy anything they were talking about from the system. He scanned the room and saw a few familiar faces. Tomokazu Chimoto was basking in the flattery of a group of sycophantic billionaires. A short distance away, Jack Ma of Hangzhou and Pony Ma of Shenzhen were deep in conversation with another group of tycoons. Just then, Petrov stomped over, looking furious. Damn it, they've all ganged up and shut me out of the new energy project. Bah, brother, let's just talk about our oil and gas deal. Ethan patted him on the shoulder. Don't worry, brother, there will be other opportunities. How much oil and gas can you provide? And at what price? He knew that new energy was the future, and competition would be fierce, especially with Western countries actively suppressing Russia. Sasha, seeing them in conversation, came over with a charming smile. What are you two talking about? She asked, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. Nothing important, Ethan said casually. Just buying some oil and gas from Petrov. Sasha frowned. Ethan, as far as I know, private enterprises are forbidden from being involved in the oil and gas industry in China. Do you have some kind of special connection? He just smiled. Don't worry about it. I have my ways. Hearing this, Petrov's face lit up. He clapped his chest proudly. My brother, if you have a way, then I won't let you down. I will supply you with 200 billion worth of oil and gas at a 30% discount from the market price. How does that sound? The offer was better than Ethan had expected. It's a deal, he said. But I have one condition. Anything. Petrov boomed. I need you to guarantee the quality of the resources. No issues. You have my word, brother. Our oil and gas is top tier. They quickly drew up and signed a contract, and Ethan immediately transferred the full 200 billion to Petrov's account. Petrov's eyes widened in disbelief. Brother, I thought you'd just send a deposit. You could have paid me in quarterly installments after receiving the shipments. It's no big deal, Ethan said with a shrug. Besides, I trust you. When you get back, the Chinese government will be in touch to handle the rest of the details. My part in this is done. Petrov roared with laughter. Don't worry, my brother. I'll take care of it. To be honest, if it weren't for you, this whole trip would have been a waste. This conference is a bore. Let's go downstairs and have a few more drinks. Ethan turned to Sasha. Are you staying here or coming with us? I'm coming with you. Of course, she said with a smile. She had already gleaned enough market insights for one day. The three of them found a quiet corner in the downstairs bar. Petrov ordered a bottle of vodka, Ethan chose a bottle of Maotai, and Sasha opted for juice. To our partnership, Petrov said, raising his glass. They drank and chatted, the mood light and easy. So what's the real story with the oil deal? Sasha asked, her curiosity getting the better of her. Ethan leaned in and lowered his voice. I'm procuring it on behalf of the government. It's complicated, so I can't say more. Just then, his phone rang. He excused himself to take the call. After finding a quiet spot, he answered. Nina, did you miss me? A pouty voice came from the other end. Ethan, why haven't you come to the Garden of Dreams to see me? I'm mad at you, and I won't be easy to soothe. Nina, don't be mad, Ethan said quickly. You know it's daytime here in the US. I'm at the conference. Oh, and I forgot to tell you. I ran into Sasha on the plane. Since I don't know anyone here, I asked her to come with me to the meeting. I hope you don't mind. Nina was surprisingly understanding. She knew Ethan well enough to trust him. Of course not. Don't be silly. You just focus on your business. Text me when you're done, and we'll meet in the Garden of Dreams. Okay, Nina, I have to go, Ethan said, breathing a sigh of relief after he hung up. When he returned to the bar, Sasha gave him a sly look. Was that Nina checking up on you? Worried you'll be swept off your feet by some hot blonde. He just smiled and raised his glass. She was just calling to see how I was. Let's drink. After another round, Petrov stretched. Well, brother, there's not much left to this conference. I'm heading back tomorrow. Are you staying to see the sights? I think I will, Ethan said. It's my first time in New York. I'd like to look around for a day or two. Enjoy yourself then, Petrov said. And if you're ever in Russia, come and find me. After a brief farewell, Sasha also drove off, leaving Ethan alone. He sent a text to Nina, then went up to his room. A few moments later, he transported himself to the Garden of Dreams. Nina immediately flew into his arms, but then she wrinkled her nose. Ethan, why do you smell like alcohol and perfume? Have you been out with another woman behind my back? He couldn't help but laugh. What are you talking about? I was just having a drink with a new Russian friend I made, and Sasha was there, too. You can ask her if you don't believe me. She blushed. I'm sorry, I misunderstood again. You're not mad, are you? He stroked her hair gently. Of course not. I know you're just worried about me. Hey, how would you like to see New York for yourself? Her eyes lit up. Can I get to New York from the Garden of Dreams? He just smiled, and a moment later, they were standing in his hotel room. She stared, speechless, as he asked, So, do you want to rest, or go for a walk? Let's go, she said, grabbing his arm and pulling him out the door. The moment they left the Universal Hotel, Tomokazu Chimoto received the news. He turned to his subordinate and said coldly, Arrange it. I want that Chinaman dead. Meanwhile, Ethan and Nina were strolling through the dazzling lights of Times Square, hand in hand, completely unaware of the danger that was closing in. Nina spotted a Barbie doll in a store window, her eyes wide with longing. If you like it, I'll buy it for you, Ethan said. I love it, she said, but I don't have any US dollars. Ethan quickly pulled out a stack of bills he'd gotten from the bank and handed her 5,000. Sorry, I forgot. Take this. If you see anything else you like, just let me know. She gave him a quick kiss on the cheek and ran to the cashier. A moment later, she returned, clutching the doll happily. Look, a clown, she said, pointing to a street performer juggling for a crowd. The clown's performance was impressive, and Nina laughed with delight. Suddenly, one of the juggling balls flew towards the crowd, aimed at a small child. Ethan snatched it out of the air. The clown came over to thank him and discreetly pressed a note into his hand. Ethan unfolded it. It read, Welcome to the city of sin. Your life ends here. He looked up sharply at the clown, who was now smiling a grotesque, chilling smile. A black pistol appeared in his hand, and he pulled the trigger. Instantly, Ethan created a barrier of spiritual energy. The bullets flattened against the invisible shield and clattered harmlessly to the ground. The crowd screamed and scattered in panic. But Nina, seeing Ethan was unharmed, rushed to his side. The clown stared in disbelief, his mind unable to process what had just happened. Then his eyes met Ethan's, and a bone-deep coldness seized him. He tried to run, but his legs wouldn't obey. Ethan walked towards him slowly, his voice like the grave. Who sent you? I don't know, the clown stammered. I was just paid to do a job. Ethan's spiritual sense swept across the square, and he spotted a few Japanese men watching from a distance. It had to be Chimoto. He had been too merciful before. The sound of sirens grew closer. Not wanting to cause a bigger scene, Ethan grabbed Nina and melted into the fleeing crowd. But as he left, he sent a tiny, invisible sliver of spiritual energy into the clown's body, stopping his heart instantly. They ducked into a deserted alleyway. The police won't follow us, will they? Nina asked, her heart still pounding. We've lost them, he assured her. Just then, he heard footsteps. A group of 5 menacing-looking men blocked the alley entrance. Looks like our luck isn't so good today, Ethan muttered. The leader pulled out a knife. All right, you yellow monkeys, hand over everything you've got, or I'll cut you. Ethan realized these men weren't with Chimoto. They were just local junkies looking for an easy score. You want to rob me? Ethan said with a contemptuous smirk. I've got plenty of money. The question is, are you good enough to take it? The men charged at him. But Ethan dispatched them with a series of quick, brutal strikes, leaving them groaning on the ground. The men, accustomed to being the predators, were stunned by the ferocity of this seemingly easy target. They immediately began to grovel and beg for their lives. Ethan ignored them. He simply injected a sliver of pure spiritual energy into each of them, then led Nina out of the alley. As they walked, he kept his spiritual sense extended, scanning for any other threats. He wasn't worried for himself, but Nina was vulnerable. As they passed a small shop, he saw a familiar face. Bao, one of Qin Xian's men. Bao, Ethan called out, surprised and pleased. Mr. Yi. Bao was equally thrilled to see him. What are you doing here in New York? Ethan asked. Is Mr. Chen with you? No, the boss sent me to deliver some things to his wife and children. Bao explained. Ethan understood. He must have been delivering the defensive talismans he had given to Quinn. I'd like to pay my respects to your sister-in-law, if it's not too much trouble. Bao happily agreed and drove them to a 3-story villa in the suburbs. A young boy of about 11 or 12 opened the door. When he saw Bao, his face lit up. Uncle Bao, did you bring my Iron Man toy? Of course, Leo, Bao said with a fond smile. It's in the car. Are your mom and sister home? Your dad's friend is here to visit. The boy, Leo Qian, eyed Ethan and Nina suspiciously. Uncle Bao, if you're in trouble, just blink, he whispered. We have a gun. I can get rid of them. Just then, an elegant woman appeared in the doorway. Leo, don't be rude. Please, invite your uncle and your father's friends inside. After they were seated, The woman, Jasmine Wu, served them tea. You must be Ethan, she said. My husband has told me a lot about you. It's a pleasure to meet you, sister-in-law, Ethan replied. We ran into Bao by chance. I just wanted to see if there's anything you need. That's very kind of you, she said, her expression growing worried. Actually, I've had the feeling that someone has been watching us lately. I'm worried for the children. Don't worry, Ethan said reassuringly. I'll set up a formation around the house. I'll know instantly if anyone tries to break in. He placed a few talismans on the windows, creating an invisible barrier. And sister-in-law, he added, make sure you and the children carry the talismans, Mr. Chen sent at all times. They will buy me enough time to get here if anything happens. After chatting for a while longer, Bao drove Ethan and Nina back to the hotel. Meanwhile, Tomokazu Chimoto was already on a flight back to Japan. When he learned of the failed assassination, he had immediately decided to retreat. He knew Ethan was a powerful martial artist, and he had only brought one mid-level ninja with him. It was a strategic withdrawal. He had no idea that this seemingly wise decision would one day lead to the utter destruction of the Chimoto family. Back at the hotel, Nina returned to the Garden of Dreams. Ethan swept the entire building with his spiritual sense, but Chimoto was long gone. The powerful scan, however, did not go unnoticed. It had attracted the attention of a mysterious old man in the hotel. Ethan withdrew his spiritual sense, a thoughtful expression on his face. There was something unusual about that old man. A few moments later, there was a knock at his door. It was a hotel staff member. Mr. Yi, he said respectfully, Mr. Nick Rothschild requests the pleasure of your company. Ethan was puzzled. The old man he had detected was definitely not Nick Rothschild. But he wasn't worried. With the system space, he could escape any danger. Lead the way, he said. He was led to a lavish suite on the top floor. The door slid open automatically as they approached. Inside, the mysterious old man was sitting on a sofa, sipping a glass of red wine. Nick Rothschild stood behind him like a deferential attendant. Ethan walked in and sat down opposite the old man. You wanted to see me? He asked directly. The old man didn't answer. Instead, he closed his eyes, and the wine bottle on the table floated into the air. It tilted and poured a perfect glass of wine, which then hovered in the air and drifted over to Ethan. Please, try the wine, the old man said. Ethan, unimpressed, used his own spiritual sense to guide the glass into his hand. He took a sip. An excellent vintage, he commented, but I'm not much of a wine drinker. The old man laughed. A straightforward man. I like that. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Elton Rothschild, the current Grand Elder of the Rothschild family. A pleasure to meet you, Mr. Rothschild, Ethan said. To what do I owe this honor? I detected your powerful spiritual energy earlier, Elton said. It's clear you are an extraordinary martial artist. I would like to invite you to become an honorary elder of the Rothschild family. We would, of course, compensate you handsomely. Ethan shook his head. I appreciate the offer, but I already have a sect in China. I'm afraid I must decline. A pity, Elton said, not seeming disappointed. But the offer will always stand, should you change your mind. However, there is another matter. A precious family heirloom was recently stolen from us. We believe the thief is a powerful metahuman. I was hoping you might be able to assist us in its recovery. We would be deeply in your debt. Ethan considered it. I can help, he said finally. But I have one condition. I need you to protect a family for me. Elton readily agreed. The ring of Alexis. Does anyone outside of your family know about it? Do you have any suspects? Ethan asked, getting down to business. We believe it was the American Metahuman Organization, Elton said, his expression grim. They are the only ones who would dare to make a move against us on our own turf. Most of our own experts are being closely watched. We need you to find the ring's location. Once we know where it is, we will mobilize all our forces to retrieve it. Ethan nodded. The American Metahuman Organization was a longtime rival of the Ninth Bureau. This was a perfect opportunity to deal them a blow. Consider it done, he said, then took his leave. In the suite, Nick turned to his uncle. Do you really think he can find the ring? Do not underestimate him, Nicholas, Elton said seriously. When our spiritual energies met, I could feel that his power far surpasses my own. And the Chinese have many mysterious methods at their disposal. Nick was shocked. His uncle was one of the most powerful men in the world. For this young man to be even stronger was a terrifying thought. Back in his own room, Ethan decided he should contact the Ninth Bureau. Ethan picked up his phone and dialed Director Zhong's number. After a few rings, a groggy and slightly annoyed voice answered. Inspector Yi, it's the middle of the night. Can't this wait until morning? Ethan winced, scratching his head in embarrassment. My apologies, Director. I completely forgot about the time difference. I can call back in the morning if you'd like. No, I'm already awake, Director Zhong sighed. You might as well tell me what's on your mind. Ethan quickly recounted the situation with the Rothschild family, the ring of Alexis, and the American Metahuman Organization. The director listened in silence. Inspector, I'll leave this matter to your discretion, he said finally. However, if you could instigate a conflict between the Rothschilds and the Metahuman Organization, it would be most beneficial for China. I'll have Mu Changqing send you a detailed file on the organization in the morning. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going back to sleep. After hanging up, Ethan decided to check on Tomokazu Chimoto. He went down to the front desk and inquired about him, only to be told that he had already checked out. Annoyed, Ethan realized he'd have to make a trip to Japan to deal with him later. Back in his room, Ethan received the file from Mu Changqing and studied it carefully. He then left the hotel, found a deserted spot, and flew towards the American capital. He arrived at the Metahuman Organization's base, a high-tech facility with 5 subterranean levels. His spiritual sense penetrated the metallic walls, revealing a complex network of corridors, laboratories, and training areas where metahumans honed their powers. His attention was drawn to a pale young man, whom he recognized from the file as Innes, the organization's only space-based metahuman. Innes entered a room where a beautiful young woman was waiting. Ella, he said, his face flushed with excitement. I got it. I got the ring of Alexis. I brought it for you. You're a psychic. It should greatly enhance your powers. The woman, Ella, looked at him with a cold, impassive expression. You didn't have to do that, Innes. I've told you. I will never have feelings for you. I know that, Ella, he said, his smile faltering. We're partners. I just wanted to help you get stronger. As long as you understand, she said, her tone softening slightly. I will accept the ring. You should go and rest now. You look terrible. After he left, dejected, Ethan shook his head. A classic case of a simp, he thought. He quickly sketched a map of the base's layout and contacted Elton Rothschild. Mr. Rothschild, do you know of a psychic metahuman in the organization named Ella? The old man's voice was sharp with alarm. A psychic? Impossible. Our intelligence indicates they have no such members. I'm looking at her right now, Ethan said calmly. She seems to be at an intermediate level. The ring was stolen by a space-based metahuman named Innes and given to her. Where are they? Elton demanded. I will assemble my best men and head there immediately. Ethan gave him the location and found a place to wait. 40 minutes later, the Rothschild forces arrived. Ethan handed the map to Elton Rothschild. This should help you, he said. The old man's face lit up with gratitude. Mr. Yi, this is invaluable. With this, we can minimize our losses. From this day forward, you are a most esteemed friend of the Rothschild family. If you ever need anything, do not hesitate to ask. It was my pleasure, Ethan replied, then turned to leave. But he didn't go far. He concealed himself in the shadows, watching as the Rothschild forces surrounded the metahuman base. A fierce battle was about to begin. Suddenly, a powerful psychic wave emanated from the base. It was Ella. The space around the Rothschild forces began to warp and twist, black rifts opening in the air and throwing them into chaos. Seeing his opportunity, Ethan activated an invisibility talisman and slipped into the base. He moved through the chaotic corridors, searching for the organization's research data. He found it in a secure room, piles and piles of files and experimental records. He was about to take them when he heard footsteps approaching. He quickly hid. A Rothschild member entered the room, looked around, and then left. Ethan breathed a sigh of relief, then swept all the data into his system space and headed for the exit. Outside, the battle was raging. Elton Rothschild was locked in a fierce duel with the metahuman organization's leader, Zach. Both men were already injured, blood trickling from their lips. Elton, have you gone mad? Zach roared. We've never done anything to provoke your family. Why are you attacking us? Don't play innocent with me. Elton retorted. You stole a priceless treasure from my family. Zach's face darkened. He realized Elton was serious, but with both sides having suffered heavy casualties, there was no turning back now. Just as they were about to clash again, a new group arrived on the scene. A middle-aged man in a U.S. military uniform floated in the air above them. Elton, Zach, he commanded in a booming voice. I order you to stand down immediately, or you will face the consequences. The two leaders reluctantly ordered their forces to stop fighting. The man, General Warren, flew down to confront them. You are both special assets to this country, and yet you are trying to kill each other. Explain yourselves. If you don't have a good reason, you will answer to Congress. Elton quickly explained about the stolen ring. The general turned his icy gaze on Zach. What do you have to say for yourself? It's a misunderstanding, General. Zach insisted. We didn't steal anything from the Rothschilds. Misunderstanding or not, this brawl has caused a serious incident. I will get to the bottom of this. From a distance, Ethan watched and decided it was time to leave. He teleported back to his villa in Shanghai. Back at the scene, General Warren summoned Innes, who, under the pressure of the general's powerful aura, confessed everything. When he learned of Ella's S-class psychic potential, a flash of glee crossed the general's face, which he quickly concealed. Regardless of the circumstances, he announced solemnly, this conflict has had serious repercussions. Therefore, I am making the following ruling. The metahuman Ella will be conscripted into the military. The ring of Alexis will also be requisitioned by the military. Do either of you have any objections? Though they were both furious, neither man dared to defy the most powerful man in the country. They could only nod in bitter acceptance. After General Warren departed, Elton and Zach exchanged a look of pure hatred, then stormed off in opposite directions. The conflict had been a disastrous loss for both sides. It was morning in China. Ethan called Director Zhong, who answered with a weary sigh. Inspector Yi, what is it now? I swear my workload has doubled since you joined the bureau. I have good news, Director, Ethan said with a smile. I've managed to acquire all of the American Metahuman Organization's research data. Interested? The director was instantly wide awake. China had its own metahumans, but without proper training methods, most of their potential was wasted. My dear Inspector, you are a blessing to this country. Where are you? I'll come to you at once. Now, Director, you're a busy man. I wouldn't want to bother you. I'll just keep this data for myself. Don't you dare, the director said, his voice laced with panic. I'm not busy at all. Tell me where you are. This data is of monumental importance to our national strength. Ethan chuckled. Calm down, Director. Just stay put. I'm on my way to the capital to deliver it to you personally. An hour later, he was in the director's office, handing over a storage bag. Director Zhong eagerly examined the contents, his face beaming with excitement. This is priceless. With this, we can properly cultivate our own metahumans. He poured Ethan a cup of tea. Try this. It's a special Da Hong Pao from number 1 himself. I was saving it for a special occasion. While the director eagerly pored over the documents, Ethan sipped the exquisite tea. After a while, seeing that the director was completely absorbed, he quietly left. He returned to his family's villa in Tianjin to find his mother, Mei Wang, sitting on the sofa with a grim expression. Across from her sat his aunt, Fiona Li. To find his mother, Mei Wang, sitting on the sofa with a grim expression. Across from her sat his aunt, Fiona Li. Mom, what's wrong? He asked. Ethan, you're back, she said, her face lighting up. Did you bring Nina with you? Before he could answer, Fiona interrupted. May, have you thought about what I said? Ethan's brow furrowed. His aunt's presence never boded well. Mom, what is she talking about? She wants to borrow this villa for your cousin Jason to use as his marital home, May said, her voice tight with anger. For a whole year. Ethan stared, dumbfounded. He couldn't believe the audacity. May, you should just pack up and move back to the old house, Fiona said impatiently. Jason is the eldest grandson. His wedding has to be grand. How can you face your deceased parents and brother otherwise? Ethan almost laughed. He had never liked this aunt, but now she was resorting to emotional blackmail. Aunt Fiona, he said, his voice dangerously calm. I bought this house for my mother to live in. It's not a public utility. Why should we have to move out for my cousin's wedding? Don't you know how to help family? Fiona snapped. Help is a two-way street, Ethan shot back. And in any case, my mother is not moving out. Fiona jumped to her feet and pointed a finger at him. You ungrateful brat. Have you forgotten how your uncle helped your family? He was always bringing you cornmeal when you were poor. I remember my uncle's kindness very well, Ethan retorted, his voice dripping with sarcasm. But I also remember you coming to our house right after he left, crying about how poor you were until my mother gave you the money back. You're nothing but a scheming, two-faced miser. Her face turned purple with rage. She threw herself on the floor and began to wail. Oh, my dear departed husband. Come and see how they bully your poor widow and orphan. My sister-in-law hits me, and now my own nephew is walking all over me. I can't live like this anymore. The spectacle was so pathetic that Mei Wang's anger boiled over. She strode over and slapped Fiona hard across the face, twice. Stunned into silence for a moment, Fiona's wails then redoubled in volume. Help! My sister-in-law is beating me. They're trying to drive us to our deaths. You shameless shrew, Mei roared. If you don't stop this nonsense, I'll tear that foul mouth right off your face. Ethan stepped between them and called his cousin, Jason. You have 30 minutes to get here and collect your disgraceful mother, he said coldly. Otherwise, I'll make sure you never get another construction job in this city again. You think you can threaten me just because you're rich now? Jason sneered. You're delusional. And if anything happens to my mother, I'll sue you. Realizing that the apple hadn't fallen far from the tree, Ethan hung up and called Zach Zhang. Brother Zach, it's Ethan. Ethan, good to hear from you. Are you back in town? We should get drinks with Quinn tonight. I need a favor, brother, Ethan said. One of your company's contractors, a man named Jason Wang. I need you to cut ties with him. Blacklist him if you can. Consider it done, Zach said without hesitation. And don't forget about drinks tonight. While they were talking, the commotion had attracted the attention of the villa's security guards. They recognized Ethan and approached him respectfully. Mr. Yi, is there a problem? Ethan pointed to the still sobbing Fiona on the floor. Get this crazy woman out of here, he said. And from now on, she is not allowed on the property. The guards found a pushcart, unceremoniously loaded the sputtering woman onto it, and wheeled her out of the gated community. His mother was still upset. I'm not angry at her, son, she said with a sigh. I've had no feelings for them for years. It just makes me sad to think of your uncle. I'm a little tired. I'm going to go rest. Not knowing how to comfort her, Ethan went to his own room. He set up a fixed teleportation point, then texted Nina. I'm home. Where are you? She was at his villa in Shanghai. A moment later, she arrived in his room in Tianjin, but he wasn't there. "You're tricking me again," she texted. "I'm at your place, but you're not here." "I'm at my family's house in Tianjin," he replied. "But don't worry, I set up a fixed point here. You can come find me anytime." Chapter 145. A moment later, Nina appeared in his room via the Garden of Dreams and threw herself into his arms. "Ethan, I was so worried about you in New York. It's so chaotic there." He stroked her hair. "Don't forget, I'm a cultivator. There's almost no one in this world who can hurt me." "I know you're powerful," she pouted, "but I can't help worrying." He sighed. "My mom is in a bad mood today. I don't know how to cheer her up. Do you have any ideas?" Her eyes twinkled. "Of course I do. I'm the best idea. Just watch." She ran downstairs and called out in a cheerful, sing-song voice. "Auntie, I've come to visit. Are you home?" May's mood lifted instantly. She came out of her room, beaming. "Nina, you're here. Come, sit down." "Ethan, what are you doing just standing there? Get some fruit for your future wife." After bringing out the fruit, May pushed the plate towards Nina. "I've missed you so much, dear. Let's go shopping later, just the two of us." She then turned to Ethan. "You can figure out your own dinner. I'm taking Nina out. And let your father know." Ethan was momentarily stunned. Was he not her biological son? But he quickly realized that his mother and Nina getting along so well was a blessing. "Have fun, Mom," he said with a wave. "Zach invited me for drinks at Quinn's place tonight anyway. Nina, you two can take the Aston Martin. The hotel isn't far. I can just walk." "Thanks, Ethan," Nina said, linking her arm with May's as they headed out the door. Just as he was about to leave, a man he didn't recognize ran up to him, out of breath. "Is this the residence of Evany?" he panted. "Yes," Ethan said, suddenly wary. "What is it?" "I'm an employee at the Binhai Flower Nursery," the man said urgently. "Mister, you just collapsed from a brain hemorrhage. He's been taken to the hospital. You need to go there right away." In less than 5 minutes, Ethan was at the hospital. He found his father, Evan Yi, lying in a hospital bed, looking pale and weak. A doctor rushed over. "Are you the patient's family? You need to sign these consent forms immediately. His condition is critical. He needs surgery right away." Ethan ignored him and went to his father's side. He scanned his father's brain with his spiritual sense and found a blocked blood vessel that had ruptured. It was a simple fix for him. "Thank you, doctor, but your services won't be needed," he said calmly. "If you'll all please step outside." The doctor looked at him as if he were crazy, but after a moment, he and the nurses left the room. Ethan placed his hand over his father's forehead and channeled a stream of gentle, healing spiritual energy into his body. The ruptured vessel began to mend, and the bleeding stopped. Soon, his father's breathing evened out, and color returned to his face. A few moments later, Evanye's eyes fluttered open. "Ethan, what are you doing here?" "Oh, my precious orchids," he groaned, his voice filled with pain and anguish. Ethan's heart ached for him. "Dad, calm down. You're in the hospital. You just had a close call. What happened? Why did you have a brain hemorrhage?" Chapter 146. Evany took a deep breath. "Just now, Fiona came to the nursery, screaming and shouting that you and your mother were bullying her. I ignored her and just tended to my orchid. When she saw I wasn't paying attention, she got even angrier and smashed my orchid to pieces. I saw red, and then everything went black." Ethan's blood boiled. Not content with causing trouble at home, Fiona had now destroyed something his father treasured. This time, she would learn a lesson she'd never forget. "Dad, you just rest here for a few days," he said, his voice dangerously calm. "I'll take care of everything." No, I feel fine," his father insisted. "I don't want to stay here. Let's go home." After a moment's thought, Ethan agreed. His father's condition was stable, and there was no point in keeping him in the hospital. He went to find the doctor, who was astounded to see his patient awake and alert. The doctor insisted on a full set of scans before discharging him. A short while later, the doctor returned, staring at the new scan results in utter disbelief. "This is impossible," he muttered. "The cerebral hematoma is completely gone. It defies all medical science. Is our equipment malfunctioning?" Ethan ignored the bewildered doctor, completed the discharge paperwork, and drove his father to the nursery. His father went straight to the shattered remains of his prized orchid, while Ethan went to the security room. After reviewing the surveillance footage, he called the police. When they arrived, he showed them the video. "Officers, the woman who destroyed this plant is named Fiona Lee. The plant itself is a Sugan He Ding orchid with a market value of over 15 million yuan. I expect you to handle this matter with the severity it deserves." A young officer looked skeptical. 15 million? For a plant? An older, more experienced officer shot him a sharp look. "If you don't know what you're talking about, keep your mouth shut. The actual price is likely even higher. Don't worry, Mr. Yi. We will deal with Ms. Lee accordingly." Meanwhile, Fiona was back at home, smugly cracking sunflower seeds. Her son, Jason, came home. "Mom, what happened? That punk Ethan actually called and threatened me. I just ignored him. That sister-in-law of mine finally grew a spine," Fiona huffed. "She actually slapped me. And that little brat Ethan had security throw me out. But I got my revenge. I went to their nursery and made such a scene I made his old man pass out. Mom, you did it all wrong, Jason complained. If she hit you, you should have just laid down in her house and refused to move. Then I could have gone over and raised hell until they gave us the villa as compensation. You're right, son, I should have thought of that, she said. I'll go back tomorrow and do just that. They're so rich, they should share a little with us. Just then, there was a knock on the door. It was the police. We're looking for Fiona Lee, the older officer said flatly. That's me, she said, trying to look innocent. What can I do for you, officers? I was just assaulted today. The officer just looked at her. Ethan Yi has filed a complaint against you for the destruction of a 15 million yuan orchid at the Tianjin Flower Nursery. You need to come with us. She screeched like a banshee. That ungrateful, heartless little bastard. He dares to report me? He thinks he can scare me with some made-up number? At the station, the officer showed them the receipt for the orchid. When Fiona saw the price, her face went white. She turned to her son, her voice trembling. Son, what are we going to do? You have to go beg your aunt to drop the charges. I'll stay away from them forever, I swear. Jason stared at the receipt, his world crumbling. He worked his fingers to the bone in his renovation business and barely made $1 million a year. This single plant was worth 15 years of his life. Mom, you wait here, he said, his voice shaking. I'll go talk to Aunt May. After he left, Fiona turned to the old officer, her bravado gone. Officer, if they don't drop the charges and I can't pay, how long will I be in jail? About 10 years, he said without looking up. The words hit her like a physical blow. She sank to the floor, her mind reeling with regret and despair. Ethan had just gotten his father settled at home when Jason arrived, sprinting towards them. Uncle, he cried, falling to his knees. Please forgive my mom. She knows she was wrong. They've taken her to the station. Please, ask Ethan to drop the charges. Just then, May and Nina returned from their shopping trip, their arms laden with bags. Jason, what are you doing here? May asked, her tone frosty. Are you here to borrow the villa too? Aunt May, he wailed, grabbing at her legs. My mom's been arrested. Please, you have to help us. She'll go to jail. May was taken aback, a flicker of pity in her eyes. But Ethan stepped forward. Mom, you know what they're like. If we don't teach them a lesson this time, they'll just keep causing trouble. He turned to Jason, his eyes cold as ice. I called you this afternoon. What did you say to me then? Have you forgotten so quickly? This time, your mother is going to pay. And so are you. Find a way to get the money, or she's going to prison. Jason stared at him with pure hatred, then scrambled to his feet and stormed off. You see, Mom, Ethan said to his mother. They're vipers. The moment we don't give them what we want, they turn on us. She sighed. I know, son, but he's still family. They don't see us as family, Ethan said firmly. I'm handling this, Mom. Later that evening, he went to meet his friends at the hotel. Zach was already there. Brother, that business with Jason Wong is all taken care of, he said. His contract is terminated as of tomorrow. He's related to you, isn't he? Did he cause you some trouble? Do you want me to find some faults with his past projects? I'd appreciate that, brother, Ethan said. Teach him a lesson he won't forget. Don't worry about it, brother, Quinn said, raising his glass. But if you do need any real help, you know who to call. My wife told me what you did for her in New York. She was so worried about someone following the kids, but she says she feels completely safe now. I owe you one. Let me toast you. Ethan drank with him, thinking that the Rothschilds were certainly efficient. After a few more rounds with Zach and Owen Yi, the two of them were completely drunk. Ethan helped the hotel manager, Kim Shun, get them to their rooms, then headed home. The news about his father had given him an idea. The system had countless formulas for miracle drugs, all available for a relatively small number of points. As he showered, he received a message from Owen. It was information about a small pharmaceutical company in Tianjin that Universal Group had acquired called Star Pharma. It was located not far from the villa. He decided he would pay it a visit in the morning. Just as he was getting into bed, Nina came into the room. Ethan, school starts the day after tomorrow. I have to go back to Shanghai tomorrow. He pulled her into a hug, feeling a pang of regret. Okay, Nina. I'll come find you as soon as I've taken care of things here. The next morning, he drove to Star Pharma. The security guard at the gate stopped him. Ethan offered him a cigarette. This place looks brand new, he said. Business must be good. The old guard took a drag. You here for a job, son? I'd look elsewhere if I were you. This place used to be good, but it's been going downhill for the past 2 years. Got bought out by Universal Group, but nothing's changed. What happened? Ethan asked. They invested a fortune in developing a new diabetes drug, the guard explained. But a foreign company bribed one of our employees, stole the formula, and patented it first. The company never recovered. They've just been scraping by on their old patents ever since. Ethan's brow furrowed. A traitor in their midst. That was a problem he would have to solve before he introduced any of the system's formulas. Just then, the factory manager and his leadership team came rushing to the gate. The manager, a man named Morgan Mu, approached Ethan cautiously. Are you, Chairman Yi? Ethan nodded. Morgan grabbed his hand and shook it vigorously. Welcome, Chairman. I'm the manager here, Morgan Mu. Please, come in, come in. As they walked away, the old security guard's jaw dropped. The young man wasn't looking for a job. He was the new boss. Morgan gave Ethan a tour of the facility. The equipment was modern, and the staff seemed diligent. Overall, I'm quite impressed, Ethan said when the tour was over. Please assemble all the senior management for a meeting immediately. In the conference room, Ethan addressed the assembled managers. I'm aware that a new drug formula was stolen from this company by a foreign competitor, aided by an internal traitor. This is a disgrace. From this day forward, I will be injecting a significant amount of capital into this company for the research and development of a new series of miracle drugs. I will also be bringing in my own security team. If I catch anyone colluding with outside forces to betray this company again, I will show no mercy. The room was silent. On a happier note, he continued, his tone lightening. As of today, all employees of Star Pharma will receive a 30% raise. Mr. Mu, please stay. The rest of you are dismissed. Once they were alone, Ethan said, Mr. Mu, I have several formulas for drugs that treat diabetes, heart disease, and even most types of cancer. They are all made from pure Chinese herbal medicine. I need you to procure the necessary ingredients and begin production for clinical trials as soon as possible. My security team will deliver the formulas to you shortly. Morgan's hands trembled. It had been his lifelong dream to develop a miracle drug that could save his countrymen. And now, this young man was handing him 3. Chairman, he said, his voice thick with emotion, I will not fail you. After leaving the factory, Ethan redeemed the 3 formulas and 10 elite bodyguards, called shadow guards, from the system. He gave the formulas to the guards, then called Owen Yi and instructed him to transfer $500 million to Star Pharma's accounts. When he got home, his mother was waiting for him. You brat, she scolded. You ran off this morning and didn't even see Nina off. He didn't know how to explain that Nina had simply teleported back to Shanghai, so he just hung his head in silence. She changed the subject. Your uncle was recently laid off. I was thinking of having him help your father at the nursery. Do you have any objection? Of course not, Mom, Ethan said quickly. Uncle has always been good to me. Do whatever you think is best. Just make sure you pay him well. My cousin Yanan is married, but Sean is still young and will need money in the future. You're a good boy, she said, pleased. I'll tell your father when he gets home. The nursery is a bit far from their house, though, Ethan added. You should buy him a car to make the commute easier. Well, I'm going upstairs to take care of some things. His mother watched him go, her heart filled with pride. He had really grown up. In his room, Ethan was scrolling through social media when he saw a news report that made his blood boil. The Prime Minister of Japan had once again paid a visit to the controversial ghost shrine. The blatant disrespect for history, combined with his lingering anger at Tomokazu Chimoto, solidified a new resolve in his mind. He told his mother he was going for a walk, then found a secluded spot and flew to Japan. In a quiet villa on the outskirts of Kyoto, Tomokazu Chimoto was cavorting with a group of young women when a female ninja in black suddenly appeared before him. 30 seconds later, he finished his business and turned to her. Haruyuki, what have you learned about this Ethan Yi? Master Chimoto, she said, her head bowed. We've confirmed he was the former chairman of Universal Group. We also have reason to believe his strength has reached the great grandmaster level. Deploy our best Jonin, he ordered. Keep a close watch on all suspicious individuals. I fear he may have already infiltrated the country, and post men at the airport. I want to know the moment he arrives. After she vanished, he laughed to himself. Ethan Yi, if you dare to set foot in my country, you will never leave. Meanwhile, Ethan arrived in Kyoto and took a taxi to the ghost shrine. The crowd was smaller than usual, as the Prime Minister's visit had just concluded. He redeemed a vial of Thunderfire pills from the system, found a deserted spot, and used an invisibility talisman. He slipped into the shrine unseen, his heart filled with contempt for the war criminals memorialized there. In the shrine's central hall, he placed the Thunderfire pills and retreated to a safe distance. With a single thought, he detonated them. A blinding flash of lightning and a roaring inferno consumed the building, reducing it to a pile of smoldering rubble. As the sirens wailed, a crowd of horrified onlookers gathered behind the police cordon. Some tried to rush into the flames to save the memorial tablets, only to be instantly incinerated by the magical fire. Ethan watched their hysterical grief with cold fury. These people felt no remorse for the atrocities their country had committed, only a nostalgic longing for their past military glory. Burning down one shrine was not enough. They needed to be taught a much harsher lesson. He turned and headed for the Chimoto family compound on the outskirts of the city. His spiritual sense swept over the estate, revealing scenes of debauchery and cruelty, and the hidden auras of the ninjas lurking in the shadows.